something ratchet one time? Look, I don't wanna talk. How you try and press the kid and read it, you was soft. All you know is capping, homie, you don't know the law. Pedal to the metal, you ain't catching me in park. I just hit the stop. I don't.
Well, good evening, folks. Welcome to the MCU's Bleeding Edge. We're live August 2nd, 2024, Friday night, to discuss the 1991 sci-fi classic Terminator 2 Judgment Day. That's right, folks. Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Oh, yeah. So, of course, we have our wonderful panel here. We have, of course, my trusty co-host, Mr. TrueKnowledge. How we doing, TrueKnowledge?
Hey, folks, what's up?
Of course, we have the pop culture guy himself, Andreas, a.k.a.
Hello.
Time Cop, a.k.a. Time Lord, a.k.a. Who Gives a Shit, Andreas, pop culture guy. How we doing, Andreas?
Pretty good. Very happy for that intro.
Excellent, excellent. And then, of course, we have also returning Mr. Imran from the Jock and Nerd podcast. How we doing, Imran?
Hey, chill out, D-Quad. I'm glad to be here. Listen, this is what I'm a big movie from my youth. I'm a little older than all you fuckers, so I'm excited to talk about.
What are you? 22?
Beloved movie. I saw this in the theaters. That's how old I am. I'll just give it away there, but we'll get into that. But I'm excited to talk about one of my favorite movies of all time. Come on.
Excellent. Great to have you. And then we have some new blood on the panel tonight. From Movie Toast, we have Dennis and Adam. How we doing, guys?
Hey, nice to join you guys. Looking forward
to
to having some fun, especially with such a classic movie.
Excellent.
Sounds like we missed some good episodes with the Acolyte. Got to go back and watch that. Season 2, we got to come back for that with you guys.
Yeah, no, 2, I believe season 2 is pretty much dead in the water from our understanding. So I mean, you missed out a little bit, but it's all good. We'll have other stuff for you that'll be just as good. Don't worry. We got you guys. And also joining us for the first time, the Knights of Nostalgia. Hello, Drew. How we doing?
Oh, excellent. I am really, really excited to talk about Revenge of the Nerds 2, Nerds in Paradise.
Oh,
but I guess we'll have to settle for this one. But no, thank you for having me. This is actually one of my favorite personal movies, and I think it's actually one of the best movies of all time.
Excellent. Great to have a great panel to talk about this, especially those that love it. Because, yeah, I agree with everyone there. This is one of the best movies of all time. I think it's one of the best sequels of all time. And there's just nothing I feel that's bad about this film. Even for its time in 1991, the CGI was beyond its limits, I feel, for its time, which, Cameron, he's always he's always pushing the envelope for his CGI and stuff like that. I mean, we've seen that with the Avatars. We've seen that, with a lot of his films, The Abyss, True Lies, etc. And he just is always trying to make the best quality, CGI animated films. And this, for 1991 was a spectacular. I mean, I can only imagine how this was on the big screen in 91. I mean, I could have gone and seen it, but I don't think my parents would have taken me to an R-rated film at the time. But, because I was just a little shy under the 17 mark when this came out. But, it still was one of those things that I just can imagine how, you would have been in awe over this CGI for this movie, especially for that time, because CGI was still very new at this time. I mean, it had been around since the mid-'80s, but still, at this point, it really was becoming a big deal. It was becoming more major part of film. So I think this film is really one of those groundbreakers for that particular, for that to become a commonplace in films. All right, so, of course, tonight we'll be doing the drinking game, of course, as we all know. If you saw in the chat, I mentioned the 6 amazing words that'll be the drinking words for tonight. Of course, as we always say to our guests, you don't have to drink booze, but you can also drink whatever you got. Just anytime you hear the word, take a sip of whatever your pleasure of drink is. And, of course, the drinking words tonight will be Edward Furlong, Linda Hamilton,
Oh,
T1000.
oh shit.
Yep.
I don't think I get enough booze for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have found some great ways to get around certain words. If you don't want to say the name and have to drink, you can always use their character name, as we always like to mention. You can do that if you want. But these names, I feel, are not I would say, the most people will probably be using. I feel a lot more people will be doing John Connor, Sarah, Arnold, and stuff like that. So I left out Arnold Schwarzenegger because that one I felt would be way too common. So we'll use that one, but we will use hasta la vista, baby. So that will be one of the words that is a drinking word. And so there you go, guys. What was the other? I felt I had another one there. What was the other one, Jeff? Do you remember besides those 4, 5?
I'm looking right now.
Okay. T1000, Linda Hamilton, Edward Furlong.
You had Future and Cyborg also.
Future.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Yeah, Future and Cyborg. So yeah, Future and Cyborg, I feel, are very common words that will be used in this film as well. So those are the drinking words. Once we get through kind of the intro here, that's when the drinking game will go into effect. I will not expect you to start doing it because I'll be mentioning these names shortly here, so I won't get you guys started. All right, so this, of course, it was released July 3rd, 1991. So it's funny that we're doing this shortly after its 33rd anniversary, just a little over almost a month past that 33rd anniversary for this film when it got released in 1991. This film, of course, was directed by the great James Cameron, who we all know as director of such films, of course, as The Abyss, True Lies, the Avatar films, Piranha 2, The Spawning, which, by the way, is a classic. I think more people should watch that film. It's not as good as the first one, but it's still a very fun film. That movie still breaks, I feel, boundaries for the R rating in 1982, simply for the fact that the beginning sequence is pretty damn graphic and full frontal nudity, which I am still shocked that movie's only R. But anyways, that film is still great. It was also James Cameron's first film. That was his first directorial debut as well, for those that did not know that. But he also was the co-writer on Terminator 2 as well, along with William Wisher, who helped co-write the film with him. So along with being a director, he also co-wrote the film. Of course, this stars, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, Edward Furlong. We have, of course, the major new villain in this one, the T1000, who's played by, of course, Mr. Patricks, who is an awesome actor. Love him. I think he was great in Peacemaker as Peacemaker's dad. He was great.
Mm-hmm. Love to hate him.
Love to hate him. Yeah, he plays really good villains. And then, of course, we have a great slew of other people that usually pop up in James Cameron's film that pop out through this film as well. And that was always a great thing. All right. So this film was made when it was made in 1991. Its budget was between $94 and $102 million.
Wow.
So that's pretty big for that time period. And I'm imagining a lot of that probably went towards the CGI at the time. So I'm sure a lot of those digital effects from ILM, took a lot of that chunk besides the, main star himself. He probably took a big chunk too as well. But in its theatrical run, it actually ended up making between 519 to 520.9 million. So it was a box office success, just like its predecessor. And is just I think definitely a hit, even on the video market when it got released finally on Laserdisc and DVD at the time, VHS, stuff like that. It was a huge hit on that as well. All right. So I'm going to ask my first question for you guys tonight. And my first question is for you guys is, which versions of this film have you watched? Have you watched the extended cut or the which is called the there's the extended cut and then there's the raw cut. Both of those are two different versions that they are released on DVD, Blu-ray, VHS, stuff like that, Laserdisc. So my question is, which version have you watched and which one do you prefer? And two, how many times have you seen this film since its release in 1991? Let's start with you, Imran.
Oh man, no, I know there are several versions, special edition of this, and for a while you could only get the special edition on DVD. I actually watched it last night. It was on Paramount Plus, and it was just the theatrical cut that is available. I've seen the special edition cut, and those scenes are fun. Like they add, if you're like a hardcore, if you're really into Terminator, yeah, they're gonna add a little bit more depth and motivation to the characters. You don't really need a lot of them. I honestly think the theatrical cut, the way it is pretty perfect, with the ending of The Road and the Sarah Connor voiceover. You know, in the special edition, they got the whole, so many things added, like her at the playground, at the future at the end, and them with his head open, and more with Miles Dyson, and all that stuff is great because the world building is great. How many times have I seen this movie? I've seen it a lot. I've seen it a lot. I was obsessed with this movie when I was a teenager. I think I was like 15 when it came out, and then when the VHS came out, I got that. I read the novel, and of course, nice. The franchise is amazing. Spawns comic books and toys and video games, and it's just a testament to this movie that they've never been able to make another good Terminator movie. This was two, and that was it. They didn't find that magic ever again.
Excellent. Thank you, Imran. All right, let's go over to you, Drew. Same question, sir.
So I've only seen the I've only ever seen the special edition, I believe once in my life, and it was over at a friend's house. I've seen the theatrical one more times than I can even count. I do not really have a number. I just recently rewatched it last night just to prepare for this, but and it was the same one on Paramount Plus on like Ultra HD or whatever. The movie still looks beautiful. I think I prefer the theatrical cut. Like I said, I don't remember too many of the extra scenes. I think it's like roughly 20-ish minutes extra. But the scenes are fun. I remember, like, there's like a scene with Sarah Connor and the orderlies. There's another scene later on with Dyson. But honestly,
Kyle Reese comes back in one scene. Like,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's fun seeing. That's fun seeing Bean again. But the movie, I think, is so tight already, and it just does. It uses every piece of the buffalo. It's just the theatrical version, and to me, is just perfect in every way. Even for brevity's sake.
All right, excellent, Dennis, sir.
Yeah.
Same question.
So first time I ever saw it was on VHS, probably back in '97, when I was way too young to be watching this movie, but my cousins let me watch whatever the hell I wanted. So that's how that happened. But I got to be honest, I'm struggling to think, as you guys were talking about those other scenes. I don't know if I've ever seen. I might have seen some of the clips, but I don't think I've ever seen the full extended cut before, as you guys described it. But man, I mean, more than a dozen times at least in my life at least every couple of years I'm going to watch it again, if not slightly more often. But yeah, I did just watch it again today, as it's available on Netflix currently, and it's always just, it's one of those, like, it's like a hug. It's just a nice movie to fall back to. Yeah. So I was it's always good to get another viewing of Terminator 2 in my book.
Excellent, thank you. Adam, same question.
Pretty lame answer here. I also have not seen any of the special edition cuts. Watched it again on Paramount Plus last night. Yeah, I mean, I've seen this movie countless times. If I had to guess, maybe 37 times. I'm just ballparking somewhere. But no, I saw it super young as a child, probably before I was 5 or 6, not knowing what it was. But my dad just kind of had me watch all those classic movies, not knowing what I was watching. But boy, did I love it. just the effects, the looks, the spookiness. Oh man, yeah, fantastic film. Probably the best sequel out there, I think.
Oh,
Better than the original, in my opinion. I
agree.
tend to like this a lot more than Terminator. But T3, I don't know. That movie, what was that?
There's a Terminator 3.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I thought it stopped with 2.
that's what you should
Shit, that was a nightmare.
Story was over. The loop was closed. We could have left it alone.
Terminator 6.
Wait, the ending is
we-
perfect of 2. How can they keep going?
If you like
That's what I want.
Terminator, you find a little something in every one of the movies.
There,
Sure,
I mean,
yeah.
sure, there is a little something in all those. I guarantee, but they're largely not good.
Never messed with the show either. The Sarah
That was all right.
Connor
That-
Chronicles.
Yeah, that was all right.
Yeah.
That was all right.
All right.
But
Jeff, same question, sir.
First watch would have been probably within the year when it came out of theaters. This movie was in theaters for over 6 months worldwide. That's how long it was in theaters, and it's estimated that the shit that they made off of the Terminator 2 film, the toys, the video games, all that stuff, whatever, it paid out to the tune of $400 million. So more than the box office off of the memorabilia from Terminator 2, the book sales, the comic books, all whatever, all that came out to $400 million. That's a lot of money back then. So I think that's pretty interesting. But yeah, I saw it within the first year of its release, and I would have been very young, around
9.
I don't know, 7, 8 years old, something like that. And I remember watching it as a kid, not watching the movie necessarily, exactly when I watched it, but I remember watching it because it's one of those things that's it's just impressed in your brain once it's there. Like you can't forget it. You can't forget that you watched it, right? Like you always have that experience there. Like even when you don't see it in theater, which I may honestly haven't even seen it in theater with my parents. I don't know. My parents, just like me, were never afraid to take their kids to R-rated movies. Like when I was younger. So like I very well could have seen it in theater. No, my dad. It's possible. There was never any limits set on me as a kid, as I've told you before, Cyber, in terms of what I was allowed to watch on HBO or I had HBO in cable in my room. So as a kid, so I watched what I wanted to watch. So I started watching Oz and HBO series and stuff like that at like age 12 and 13. So altogether, I've probably seen it, including today's watch. Well, I've never seen the extended cut. I've only seen the theatrical version, and I've seen it probably today's watch was the first time in well over 20 plus years since I've seen it. I've probably seen it in total maybe 5 times.
All right.
how did it hold up for you after all that time?
Better than other people had told me it holds up. It did better than I thought that I was worried it might come off. But it still holds up. I mean, I just watched Miss Congeniality the other day, and that movie literally does not hold up for a review. You guys stay with Joey over at Podcast Odyssey. That movie does not hold up at all compared to what I saw as a kid.
No, it's all about Armed and Fabulous, the sequel. That's the one that holds up.
So yeah, it holds up. It's never the same if you watch it that first time. Terminator 2 as a sequel, it really hits hard when you take it in that first time. Even as whether you're a kid or an adult, I imagine it doesn't matter. It still hits. So good for Terminator 2. Good for James Cameron. It just still hits 4 years later.
All right. Andres, same question, sir.
Sure. I only seen the cut version in TV, so I had not seen the extended cut, but I seen the deleted scenes from the extended cut. Like the one scene that I think they should stay in the cut was the Connor and Sarah pulling that like Michael trick from the Terminator and tried to like rewrite it. Like that was a really cool scene, especially in filmmaking, because they use the Sarah Connor's actress sister, because
Right.
if you
Yeah.
don't know, the problematic thing of showing a scene with a mirror is like you have to make the inflection like be consistent. And I was like, if you've seen the behind the scenes, that is so cool how Cameron did it, and it's just like, wow, that's just insane. How many times I see it since I see it so many times. I mean, like at my house, my family are big Artie fans. Like we love The Predator and his other films. To not name right now, but like we're huge fans of his films, and obviously the Terminator franchise is like the big thing in the household. So I've seen this so many times. My last viewing, changing my TV stations or cut the cord, whatever, was like maybe three or 4 years since I seen Terminator 2. So but yeah, it's still great. It's still amazing sequel. This and Aliens is so tough because Cameron just somehow Cameron just makes the best sequel.
He kills it twice.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
not the way of water, but
no. I mean, even in
well, what
I
those
like.
two.
I mean, the way of water is pretty crazy. He just made it here.
I felt like
Yeah,
it was Titanic in the Navi world. I don't know. By at the end, but I mean, yeah. Sorry.
Yes, but even I like Way of the Water better than the first film. Like that's the thing.
Fair
It's
enough.
like,
Yeah.
If you don't like the first film, it's like I like the Way of Water is better because at least there's more like things to attach to yourself. Like the family stuff is so much more engrossing. So yeah, I like overall Cameron is the GOAT of sequel director. Like he just knows how to expand and take what worked from the first film and make it better.
Excellent. Thank you. Just to throw out there, you guys should definitely all watch the special cuts that they put out of this, because it does make this movie even more better than that original theatrical cut. Yeah. Especially the scene where Michael Biehn comes back as Kyle Reese into her dream, which actually is an extension of the scene where she gets blown away by the storm. We also get a very different alternate ending, which was interesting to see. We also have that great more addition to the Dyson family, which was really fun as well. It just makes the movie even more just amazing.
The scenes of T-1000 glitching out at the end when he can't control those are when he touches something and it becomes, those are cool too. I agree. It is a good version if you've seen this several times and you're into Terminator,
Excellent. All right. And yeah, I mean, I probably have seen it over 100 times in the last 33 years. I mean, probably the last time I watched it before I watched it just the other day was probably only like a couple years. Because I just recently bought the 4K like maybe a couple years ago. So I watch it. I watch it every so often, maybe every 6 months or so. I watch it. I have it on the background or something because it's one of my all-time favorite movies. And it's a really a fantastic film. So
especially to be in the background with the music. Sorry, that music in the background while you're working. Fantastic. Yep. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you. Drinking words in effect now, full in effect now. So any words,
right?
As you knew. As I told you guys, it is now in effect, people. We got it. We got it here, folks. All right, so drinking game is in full effect. So great job, everyone. Great takes on the on how many times you've watched it and what versions you've seen. And just a great film. All right, so Jeff, you have the trailer, sir.
Same make.
These were taken at the West Highland Police Station, 1984. You were there.
Same model.
These were taken today.
You have to let me see my son. He's in great danger.
New mission. Once, he was programmed to destroy the future.
You don't know what it's like to try to kill one of these things.
Now, his mission...
Get down.
...is to protect it.
Come with me if you want to live.
You're really real.
His loyalty is to a child.
Who sent you?
You did. 35 years from now.
And his enemy...
He's a Terminator like you, right?
Not like me.
...is the deadliest machine ever built.
Can it be destroyed?
Unknown.
This time, there are two. Terminator 2.
You just can't go around killing people.
Why?
If you thought you had seen it all, look again.
Stay down!
Go! Now!
We gotta stick together!
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Terminator 2, Judgment Day. This time, he's back. For good.
Trust me.
Wow.
The way they lined that shot, the way he lined up that shot, he shoots the fucking the shotgun and blows up the fucking the building. That's awesome, bro. That's some dope shit, dude.
Coming to see the soon.
That's fucking sick.
His loyalty is to a child.
He
That
shoots
would
a
get me
shotgun and
deep.
blows up an entire planet, entire fucking building.
Is it ballsy to spoil that Arnold's going to be the good guy in the trailer?
Yes.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even see
I
that.
love how he has the like Wi-Fi and a computer in his brain and all this shit, right? But he doesn't understand basic concepts like why people cry and shit. I'm sorry, but I have to like drag out this shit. Why do you cry in Arnold's voice? Why do you cry?
I don't know why you cry.
He just mentioned it. He's a
So
machine.
funny.
A machine is taught what to think. It's not.
And that-
It doesn't
and then
know.
in the trailer,
That's AI.
Don't kill people. Why? Why?
Wasn't that one of the extended scenes too? Was actually seeing the construction of, like, seeing the assembly line too. So like he's more or less like a newborn, right? So
Yeah, he doesn't know
there's
what's going on.
no frame of reference for this stuff.
But
Like,
yeah,
oh yeah,
it-
I know
he's an
how you're
interface
made, but
shit.
why do you do that?
He's got an computer interface in his head and shit. He can just pull this shit up. I'm sure it tells him like, "Hey, don't kill people."
No, his brain's saying kill everyone, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a murder machine. We find
At
that
least
on the
he
first
knew
film.
that he had to wear clothing. That was the first thing he did.
That's
He's like, I gotta
true.
get clothes. I can't be
Right?
naked.
He did know that much.
And
He
yet-
had to learn
Yeah.
something.
If you look at the guy that he takes the clothes from, nowhere near the build of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Size, stamina, weight, nothing. And yet it fits perfectly on him. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, in the first movie, he has to get Sarah Connor's address out of the phone book in a phone booth or whatever.
Payphone.
Right.
That doesn't age well.
Is it bad for me? One of the things that stuck out to me on the rewatch was so he strong arms taking the shotgun from the bar owner,
Yeah,
and the bike he steals just happens to have that holster
it was very
for
convenient.
that
That
shotgun.
was very
And
convenient.
it
Oh,
was
your bike doesn't have
that
one?
other dude. You know, my
Yeah,
Harleys usually don't have shotgun holsters, but that's just me.
I didn't even look when
Gotta
he did
pay
it.
for
either.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And I've always wanted to see the awkward scene when he gets the clothes, like the guy actually taking his clothes off and Arnold
Yes!
putting it on
For
and
real,
trying
for
to
real.
fit.
Does-
Why
does
can't we
Arnold-
see
does-
that?
Does Arnold make you take off your whole underwear and shit?
Yes, how does it go? Do you,
Uh-huh.
you just stand there?
There's
Are
a
you-
weird moment. There's this robot human amalgamation standing there trying to pull these leather pants on.
Yeah.
You need to be doing too, like him, like what the fuck?
Does Arnold just tell him to turn around, don't look? And he just puts his pants on.
It is smaller than yours.
No, he shows up. They just cut to the clothes fitting perfectly. He
I was hoping that was in the special edition.
No,
the
that's
bonus
the
features.
not in there.
It's very lucky that somebody with Arnold's build is like right next
Or
next
close
to him when he
to.
appears.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, twice. Not only once, but in two movies. or all the movies, I guess.
True. Yeah.
All right, Cyber, continue on, sir.
Sorry.
Oh, I can talk now, Jeff. Oh, thank you.
There you are.
Jesus Christ. Next time you take over again, I'm gonna bitch slap you through the screen. Anyways, folks out there, we're talking about Terminator 2, as you can see here. All these great people. Anyways, thank you, Mastermind X Studios. I remember the steel case DVD version. I had that too at one point. Yep, shiny metal sleeve is really awesome. Most definitely, I agree. Thank you for being in our comment section. But anyway, so Terminator 2, basically, if you're not familiar with the film after 33 years, basically, the movie starts off with Sarah Connor, basically kind of given a brief overview of what's happening. We find out that it's 2029 in current times, and that there was this giant war between Skynet and the human resistance. And basically, once again, a Terminator is sent through time to destroy, this time, John Connor as a kid. And not after her, which it failed to do in the first film. This time, we also get sent back another hero to protect John as well. And we find that all out. So I think it's kind of funny how interesting that, it's supposed to be 2029 that these, the current time for their characters are, when John Connor is an adult and everything. And, that's only 5 years away from our current time now, which is super hilarious. So, I'm waiting to see this AI apocalypse here. But anyways, we find out that stuff from Sarah. She basically gives us that overview, which is really fun. And then when it goes back in time, we find out that the present time that the movie is taking place is actually supposed to be 1995. So 4 years from when the movie actually came out. Because, of course, you couldn't have it where it's a 8-year-old or 9-year-old John Connor. He had to be at least 10 because he's born in 1985. So they have it where he's supposed to be like at least 10. Now,
that's not a 10-year-old, by the way.
Yeah,
I know. I
know people age differently in the 90s, but that's not a 10.
Yeah, Edward Furlong, Drake.
Oh shit.
Was actually 12 at the time of filming.
Oh, he was 12. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And because he was born in 77.
Okay.
So he was actually 12 at filming. And so he actually, he was around the age that John should be. They should have made this 1997, I feel. But, of course, they made it 95 instead and had him only 10. But still, John Connor, the actor, basically looked like he could have passed for like a 10-year-old a little bit because he looked really young. And this was actually his first film. This was his introduction film. If you see it in the credits, you'll see that introducing Edward Furlong. Oh, Drake. So, of course, the one thing I want to mention is the music of this film. Brad Fiedel, who composed the music for this film, also composed several other films for Cameron over the years. But the music, the theme for this film is by far one of my all-time favorite themes of a film. That music is so freaking amazing. Every time I hear it, all I can do, I close my eyes and it just puts me at ease because it's such a fucking fantastic goddamn music. It just that it's freaking fantastic. I remember the first time watching this, and that song literally played in my head for the next 3 weeks solid because it just was that good to me. I just absolutely loved that theme song to this. And I think Brad Fiedel did a great job of composing the music for this film.
Even just the percussion, just like the dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. It gets you pumped up, bro. You're like,
Yeah.
let's go. The robots are coming.
Exactly. So, like I said, so it's supposed to be 1995. We have, 12-year-old or 10-year-old John Connor And basically we're introduced to him. He's living with step parents, or not step parents, but
Foster
parents. Thank you. We're introduced to him and his friend, and he's messing around with a motorbike, which is hilarious. We get our intro to Mr. Schwarzenegger himself popping up, coming from the near time frame that we're in. And of course, he comes in and he's just like in the first film, and he's naked and he goes into the bar, and we get that great scene where he, basically takes on those several guys and does it like with ease. And for some reason, he's so focused on that one guy that his clothing is perfect. And which, as Adam mentioned, how the build was not like him at all, but still it fits perfectly after he puts it on. But he looks badass. That's the whole point. He looks badass in it. Right. And we get that fight sequence where he twists the guy arm and puts the knife in his back, and then he gets stabbed to me, it looks like he's stabbed in the chest, but when you look at the knife wound that's supposed to be after he's walking in to get the keys from the guy and his clothes, it looks like it's under his rib cage, not in his chest, which I don't know if that was bad editing or what. That's always cracks me up there, because that just doesn't look like where the knife went when he was stabbed. And we get that kind of great little thing, him getting on the bike, getting ready to go, and then that guy comes out with a shotgun, and he ends up taking his glasses and a shotgun, and he puts on the glasses, and he's now just like Arnold in this picture here. And he looks super badass, and he's ready to go find John Connor. Then we also get our introduction to the T1000 drink. Played by Mr. Great Robert Patrick. And we get introduction to him, and we once again, for some reason, these Terminators always show up naked. I don't know why. They can't.
Well, you can't. The clothes can't go through the machine. It's just it's got to be organic on the outside. I believe they explain it in like.
Is it the fourth or fifth one when we actually see the initial jump? That they finally say what happened. Like it's like only like fully encapsulated organic matter can make it through. Yeah, and that's why that's part of the reason why the Terminators have to have.
I think it was a pervert that made the machine.
Well, that's also fair. I'm gonna make him show up naked. This would be hilarious.
Why don't they just like wrap a bunch of pulse rifles in like fake Terminator skin and send that back?
Oh, that's a good point.
There you go.
A flesh bomb. They send it back into the past.
Just like flesh grenade the past.
Flesh bomb. You can buy that at adamandeve.com, I believe.
Use the promo code.
Yeah, use promo code Jock and Nerd. No,
There we go. And so we get introduced to him, and of course he kills a cop right away and takes his clothes and gets into the car and looks up John to find where he is. That's when you see his date of birth, 2/28/1985, and that kind of cool stuff. So I think that's kind of funny when they show that. You kind of get some information there.
Is it weird? Does anybody else think that why was he the only John Connor in Los Angeles? There was no other John Connors?
I thought there'd be a bunch. Like in the first movie, there's a bunch of Sarah Connors. He had to go visit a bunch of them, right? But no, this one pops up right away.
That's a great beat in the first movie where she finds out that the first two have been murdered and
Hey, did you know you're dead?
Very much. And so that's a funny part too there, that the point that he's the only John Connor that pulls up. That was one of the things I was going to reference to saying about that. But anyways, great talk there. So once that happens, then we go and actually get to see Sarah. She's incarcerated at a mental hospital because of her trying to stop Judgment Day from happening, which is supposed to happen August 29th, 1997. That's when supposedly Skynet will gain its sentience and basically, decide to destroy the world and create a nuclear holocaust. So we get that kind of great sequence there. We're introduced to her. We have the doctors walking down the corridor and she's working out. And, a lot of times if you've read any of the or seen any of the documentaries of this, when Linda Hamilton, Drake, was found out that she was going to be in the film again and be the character, she actually ended up calling up Arnold and asking, I want Sarah this time to be a lot more like rugged, more buff and stuff like that. And can you help me get into shape for it? He's like, sure. Yeah, I can help you with that. And so, basically that the look that we got is from her working out 5 days a week during the process, like leading up to filming. And then she even worked out, I believe it was 6 days a week while they were filming to keep up her look and everything with Arnold. Yeah. So
3 months. I believe she trained 3 months for this movie.
She overdid it. She overdid it, man. She looks a little bit too skinny and too fucking. Her ass is like a child's ass.
But that's her body type. But it's
that survivalist. Yeah, it's like that. Clearly this is someone who's lived off the land. I mean, sorry, I don't mean to jump in, but as we see later on in the film, there's lots of evidence of they've lived it pretty rough. So she's made it work no matter the situation.
Correct. Very true. Totally. All right. So moving on, after she is introduced to these upcoming doctors, I'm assuming, she goes, how are you doing, Dr. blah, 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 whatever his name is. And like, how's your knee? And he's referring to the fact that she stabbed him in the knee last month or something like that. So it's fine, Sarah. It's fine. And, then of course it segues back to John, and we see him using this computer thing that he learned from his mom to be able to take money out of an ATM, and he steals this money from the ATM, and he makes his way to the mall. We see, of course, the two other Terminators making their way looking for him, and eventually they make it to the mall. And in the mall, John's playing games with his friend and stuff like that, and all of a sudden that's when the T-1000, Drake.
Oh. There it is.
Pops up looking for him. Pops up, and his friend talks to him for a second, and then basically goes and alarms him. Let John know that a cop's looking for him. He's like, "Oh, okay, I got to get out of here." And then it basically pops back to Sarah at the institute, and we see some old footage of her and how crazy she was, and how she was talking about, what's supposed to happen in 1997 and stuff like that. And, talking with the doctor, and the doctor says, so you don't believe in this stuff anymore? And she's like, no, I knew this was all in my head and it was all fictional and all this kind of stuff. And she seems to be more proper and calm, and she's not as crazy as she was in the video. And, basically this is kind of like, as we find out later as it goes on, that this is kind of a little bit of a facade to try to be able to get into a lesser wing so that she can escape. And, basically he rejects her being able to go, down after saying, for 6 months, if I show good behavior and I can talk to my son and all this kind of stuff, have visitors. And he says no. And then she goes ape shit again, ape crazy, and tries to like strangle him, which was absolutely hilarious. And I love how he looks at the cameras like model citizen. Super funny line, I think, and we get that fun, little sequence there.
I'm curious. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you up. I feel like was the introduction of his character almost like this attempt at maintaining the antagonist in something like in Ghostbusters. Like, let's have that familiar face that's like, oh yeah, when we see him, we know we gotta hate that guy again. And
the asshole character has got to be
right. Yeah, he did it so well.
Cyber's almost done with what he's doing. When he's done, we're all gonna go around. So,
but yeah, okay.
All right. Yeah. So. Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying there. But yeah, definitely that kid, he's actually introduced in the first Terminator, so that same character, so he does reprise his role in this one. But anyways, so basically, like I said, that happens. Then we go back to the mall real quick, And you know, that's when Arnie shows up and you know, starts to shoot at Robert Patrick's character, and you know, to save John from him, and basically get that great kind of like shootout in the mall. They start fighting. They're going through walls and all that kind of good stuff. We see him get thrown through a plate glass window, and he gets back up and he goes after him. John tries to make his way to his motorcycle, and he ends up getting on it. Then Mr. Terminator himself, Mr. Robert Patrick, starts chasing after him after he's on his bike, and yeah, basically starts running after him, but he isn't able to make it. And John starts making his way, and T-1000 realizes he can't keep up. And which is funny about Robert Patrick is he actually originally was a Olympic runner, and so that was really him running after the motorcycle. And
he had to slow down because he would catch up to the bike every time.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how fast he could run.
Yeah, that's how fast he was. Yeah, he was pretty impressive. And so you know, he ends up seems like you know, John's getting away and the Terminator follows, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, that's when Robert Patrick ends up in this semi truck and starts going after them. And we get that great kind of that chase sequence down through the waterway, and that great explosion blowing up the truck and stuff, which was a really fantastic sequence. So we'll stop there. So my next question for you guys is, what did you think about kind of that beginning section of the film? What did you think about where Sarah Connor is? What did you think about the introduction of the liquid metal Terminator? What did you think about kind of just overall the whole process that they put into the beginning of this film, learning about the future and all that kind of good stuff? Just your overall thoughts, really. Starting with Andres.
So, okay. Beginning is very like efficient, amazing, just gets you caught up what happened between the first and second one so well. And I mean, first off, you know, of course, you know, I mean, the titular character John Carter was great to see finally, you know, because you know the first film, you know, because the first film was all about him, despite he was not born yet, and finally seeing him here, it's like, oh, okay, this is really cool, you know, just before he becomes this like leader of this, you know, propulsive future, right? So, and I thought Furlong did a really great job. He's a fantastic actor. I mean, if you've seen his other work like American History X, so I thought he did a really good job reading John Carter. And I just wish, you know,
Drake.
Oh yeah, Drake. My bad, guys. But just I nothing tops his performance as John Carter than the other actors that we got before, after since this movie. Man, Sarah Connor. I mean, when you talk about the sequel, this is the part where I was like, "Whoa!" I wasn't expecting this direction. You know, seeing Sarah Connor in a insane institution, seeing the guy from the psychologist from the first film, that was like so cool, and it makes sense because you know he helps us the viewer to remember what happened from the first film. Like, you know, he explains, you know, what Sarah told him, you know, what Sarah learned from, you know, Kyle from the first film about the future and Skynet and all that. That was really cool to see that connected to you, because you know, not sometimes franchise don't do that type of continuity, and that was really cool to see. You know, that was one of the great things about Cameron, that he cared about the continuity of the first film, you know, and that's something that makes his film special. So that was really great. And try to remind me that we meet Dyson, right, in this part as well.
Not yet.
Not
Oh,
yet.
not yet. Okay,
not yet.
okay. Thank you. No, thank you, because I
Oh wait, I'm
'cause
sorry.
this-
We do see him in camera. I'm sorry. No, there is one quick shot where we're seeing him, where we see the chip in the vault, right? I believe that's pretty early on. I remember because I after watching it earlier today, I want to say I was surprised just how early they inject that one little moment.
Oh yeah.
But I was quick to jump on and say no, we don't. But I think we do get one quick little nugget of it. I could be wrong, but I believe that's quite.
Because I haven't seen the extended cut, and so I don't know. Because I always remember they always introduced that quickly, that cyber thing. Even that, they call back from the first film of the arm being left from the battle from the first film. So that was really cool to see this time loop that we get, with time travel, and that's the impressive thing is the time travel rules that Cameron set up is just so consistent, which is really great. And just wrapping up, the truck chase scene is fantastic. It's one of the best action scene. I mean, come on, you love I don't know how Arnold does it, like his flipping of the gun, like reloading it.
Dude, that single arm reload is
yes. I love that. I wish I could learn that. This is so cool. It's like, oh my god, that's so badass. And of course, the one and only the Meadow Man, Robert Patrick himself is a fantastic villain. One of the best villains ever being created in screens, and the CGI it's just so impressive. It hasn't been dated, which is so great. It's just Cameron knows how to hide the CGI so well. That's why it hasn't outdated itself like certain CGI films during the 90s. So yeah, this the first part of the section of this film is fantastic. It's just the pace is well done. The characters are like really fun. Everything is amazing. One thing I did like was the foster parent, the lady that she's what's the character's name? I'm sorry. She's in Aliens.
Vasquez.
That was really cool. Vasquez. Thank you.
That's right. That's Vasquez from Aliens. Yeah.
Yeah, I was so happy that he brought her in the sequel because I just like Bishop from the Aliens. He was in the first Terminator, so it was really cool to see like he Harrison. Thank you. Lance Henriksen. In his filmography. So that was really great to see that he brought one of the people he worked previously to be in his film in the sequel. So that was great. So yeah, really enjoyed this.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Going on to Drew, please.
Oh my goodness, so much to praise. For a first act of a film, it's 100% solid. We get that little exposition with Sarah Connor being like the narrator in the beginning, which sort of fits because she was like sort of narrating the end of the first one too. And even though we got many years in between those two, when we get to her like in the hospital and everything, it just feels so right. Like, okay, this makes sense for this character 100%. We're introduced to John, our main lead as a little Mr. I'm not going to say his name, but he does such a wonderful job just setting up. I was like, oh, he's sort of like a delinquent. He's sort of conflicted where he's at because he doesn't really know if his mom is truthful or not, or if she is really crazy. So there's that. He's best friends with that kid from that one Nickelodeon show. I remember
Danny Cooksey was in Salute Your Shorts.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. No, but even before that, he was famous because he was in Different Strokes in the late seasons. You know how at the end of these sitcoms they would add a kid like the cousin
Freshen
Oliver
it up
on
a
the
bit.
break,
yeah.
and that always meant the show
like the
was
Brady
done.
Bunch.
Yeah, so Danny Cooksey was Sam with the red hair, and that's when the show's jumped the show.
Yeah, and he single-handedly saved the world by lying to a cop.
He did, like shot MVP for whatever his name was. Like, what a great instinct to be like, nah, I don't know.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a really good point, though. He could have just pulled his sidearm, just popped him right there.
Yeah,
movie's over.
Yeah,
Like, that would have been it.
That would have been it. Yeah.
Nice, good catch.
The intro to both of our new Terminators. It's sort of like the same exact beat as the first one, but with the first one, it's very like stylistically toned to be more dark and sinister, horror-esque. In this one, it's like the second Arnold shows up in that bar, there's already some levity and some lightheartedness, and he's the badassery is like up and the scary is a little bit down.
Mhm.
And then it all ends on that perfect like note when he gets the sunglasses and like Bad to the Bone starts playing. And that's the moment when you know, oh, we're going to have fun. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. But it's great. Any horror aficionados will recognize that one biker from Near Dark. I don't know his name, but he basically is typecasted as a biker in everything he's in. Let's see. I would say the like right at the end of the first act, we were punctuated with our very first action sequence there in the aqueduct and like the sort of the chase scene through the mall. And that's just sort of like a perfect hallmark that a lot of like the legacy directors have like basically set as that's when you like reveal your monster or you reveal like the major conflict transitioning into like your second act, you know. And it's just you feel very rewarded with that action sequence. The movie doesn't really just throw action at you nonsensically. It's just one of those, wow, this feels earned. This scene feels really freaking earned. It's awesome. And that's all I have to say about the first act.
All right, thank you. Adam, same question, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with what these guys have already said, but it also, like, seeing it as a kid for the first time, it feels like wish fulfillment. It's scary as hell because he's being hunted down, but then this kid gets this killing machine that essentially has to obey every order that he gives him. And there's something fun about that. And like, just this movie just feels so 90s in the best kind of way. Like Bad to the Bone popping up, just the vibe of it and the arcade, like everything just captures that time period to a T perfectly because it was shot back then. But I mean, it's just so fanciful. And then seeing the like that happening, but then seeing Sarah at the institution, it's like, holy fuck, vastly different worlds. I loved every second of both. And the only thing I was wondering about was really the John and his friend. They're like, oh, your step parents are the worst. And it's like, why? They seem pretty cool. The dad seems like an asshole, but the mom seems pretty cool and understandable. But I don't know. It's just like you get the crazy action right off the start. Like you're getting a little bit of like horror, a little comedy. You're just getting everything. It's a fantastic way to start a movie, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Excellent. Thank you. Jeff, same question, sir.
Yeah, I don't want to retread, already beaten paths over here, but Edward Furlong was great casting. Great casting. They did a really good job with that. I mean, he looks like a fucking douchebag now. You see his picture now? He looks rough. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry, bruh, but you look rough, man. But it's all right. That doesn't impact the T2. So, and yeah, the music when it kicks in is fucking totally intense. It's like Pantera back in the 90s or some shit. You know, like that. It's like Pantera level shit, bro. It's no joke. When it comes in, you're just like, what the fuck? You can't like help but like look, turn your head and look when you hear shit like that. You're like, oh fuck, the Terminator music. So yeah, that music is iconic, and I love the pace of the film. How it just starts right off to the time travel, right? Like fuck, like they told Cameron totally eschews the bullshit, right? And like the fucking the filler shit, and goes right to the fucking main plot of the film, which is the focus on the Terminators, you know. And it's great. It really is. It's the whole movie is so action packed and like so high intensity, you know. And the intro is just like absolutely superb. I think that actually the first part of this half of this film is better than the second half. I think that's just my take. I think the first half is better than the second.
Yeah, it's stronger. Yeah.
It's a good movie. That really hits you right from jump. Off of the baseline subject material, and then what they do with the sequel, right? In terms of the tweaking and the growth of the story and whatever. It's very simple. All they did was add another Terminator to the mix, to the combination. That's all they did, and that's all they needed. But it had to be done the right way, and so I think that Cameron should get a lot of applaud for what he did the special effects are on a different level than anything else back then that I'd seen when I saw this back in the day. Like no one else had touched this until then. I'd never seen anything like it.
Yep.
He deserves, they deserve, the people who made the film deserve credit for that. I think Arnold is outstanding, and the Patrick casting was great. He really, reading more of the background of the movie. Linda Hamilton did lose like 12 pounds in training.
Yeah.
In the year that she did of training before the movie. So no wonder she looks like her ass is like that of a 7-year-old boy. I mean, it's understandable, I guess. If you lose 12 pounds, my ass probably look like that.
I feel like you're very worried about her ass, Mike.
Oh.
Where have I seen that before? Oh, let me think.
On the MCU's Bleeding Edge, probably. Oh shit! Who's that guy?
That you, Jeff?
Punk alert!
Yeah.
Alert!
Anyways, no, it's a really great intro, really great pacing, really great job establishing the John Connor character. Although, because of the lineage of the first film, you already kind of, it's already sort of established, but that helps establish the character right from jump. That and the fact that he's a kid, right, makes you be able to slide right over with it to him. The scenes of Linda Hamilton's character,
Greg,
in the psych place or whatever, were interesting. Like watching her work out and shit, that was so 90s. Like Cage Steel, baby. That's all I got, Cyber.
I think that shows how proactive she is too. That she's literally working out in every given opportunity, even when in this bad situation she's in.
At any given moment, something could crack
yeah.
out.
I mean, imagine the torture of knowing this information. You know this shit is gonna happen. You can't do it. What are you gonna do? Be like, at least I could do some pull-ups.
She was prepared when the shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
I would just tell the hoes I was banging, like tell them, pass the word. You know what I'm saying?
It's like, this shit's ending in 5 years.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Does Dr. Silverman know just how close to certain death he was in the first movie?
Oh, whoa. Oh, if he doesn't know then, he knows now.
Yeah, right.
He was standing there.
Like he literally is exiting right when Arnold's walking in.
Yeah.
He was lucky. He was the luckiest person ever, because he could easily be killed at that moment. But yeah, I was shocked that he survived. But
thank you, Jeff. Great job. All right, Imran, same question, sir.
I mean, so many great moments. You guys covered a lot of them. I'll say I do love the Guns N' Roses song, Use Your Illusion, in the video that had Arnold at a Guns N' Roses concert was fantastic. And then the little callback when in the hallway scene, Arnold's carrying a gun inside a box of roses. I think this is all intentional. It was lovely. Like you see a literal Guns N' Roses. Let me just comment on the Eddie Furlong thing. He's getting a lot of praise. I get it. Here's the thing.
Greg.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh. Shit.
Fuck you, Imran.
Look, the casting director, I believe, literally just found him at a side of a pool and was like, hey, you look like John Connor. So he'd never acted before. He's a little screechy. He's a little Mark Hamill whiny, like in the first Star Wars, right? And some of the lines, he's like, come on, we got to go now. And it's a little annoying. However, though, I think it also, there's a weird sincerity about him because he's not an actor.
Yes.
And you buy a lot of this. Like you also literally watch him go through puberty in this movie. Like his voice changed. They had to read.
And they could have ADR'd it, but they left it. And it felt so real.
Yes, because the emotion was there. So I'll give him credit because he does pull off kind of a realness, but I can't imagine Arnold putting up with this shit. Like, who gonna make me work with this kid? He's never done shit in his life. I gotta teach him everything. It would be annoying. But so many great moments, 4 fantastic introductions. When I saw Sarah Connor, I was like, bro, she's kind of sexy like that. I'm gonna admit, I was like, oh, she's kind of buff and sexy still. And the action scene, the crash into the viaducts always fascinated me as a kid. I was like, I want to play down there. You can ride your bike down there. What's going on in LA? And then when Arnold jumps with the bike, like his superhero moment to come in, it's hard to take yourself back and think about, you didn't know, you thought Arnold was the bad guy. Like at that moment, the first time you see this, it's so hard to put yourself in that shoe. You think Robert Patrick is the good guy trying to protect her. And then they reveal the flip. The flip is genius. What happens to Sarah Connor is genius. And I love this era of action movies where they're like, fuck it, just show the stuntman. It doesn't matter. People understand, right? It's clearly not John Connor. This is not fucking Eddie and Arnold on the bicycle. But it doesn't matter. You get it. It's part of the charm. It was part of the charm of those movies. Like,
Yes.
and then cut to now where you literally have Keanu doing all his own fucking stunts. You know, Arnold did the one-arm reload. Keanu's literally drifting a car, firing with one hand, a manual. Like, it's doing all this shit. It's insane. So, but it set the precedent. And then again, the visual, the T-1000, I'd never seen that shit before. It's still, and it's amazing how it holds up, him coming out of the fire.
Oh,
never seen that.
I heard a word.
Did I say it? Which one was it? I'm not going to say it again. All right.
Drake.
That's a Drake.
But yes, just propulsive opening gets you hooked, gets you right in. It's so good.
Excellent. Thank you. Dennis, your thoughts, sir?
Yes, sir. To break away from the pack a little here. So coming from an art department background, one of the things I immediately love about the introduction of this film is its use of miniature, full-scale sets, and CG, combining all three mediums into like single shots. And even then, just the editing together, it just I so fully believe this is the fucking battlefield of the future, man. That from the skull getting crushed, which is that callback to the opening sequence from the first one, to finally seeing the resistance soldiers like a squad going just all out on all sorts, from flying robots to other walking versions of the early T-800. It just was gorgeous, and it is so engrossing, and it just so puts you into the headspace of like, oh yeah, that's right. This is where we were 7 years ago. The first time I watched, this is literally what they told us was going to happen. And the first thing out the gate. And just to go a little against the grain from some of the comments earlier, I think what Jim Cameron, especially at this era, did best was he didn't just expand upon the first film he was doing sequence for. He was shaking him up violently. From Aliens to Terminator 2, both of these films distinctly ended up having a different feel by the time the end product lands. But because it's an established world, if you're a fan of it already, you're so open and accepted, you're just getting a broader story and a more visceral experience, because you already know kind of the lay of the land and the rules of the road here. Now, when I first watched the film, I remember it was like watching the first one on VHS, and then like within the next couple days, I watched the second one. So I had no idea.
Wow.
We went from Arnold being a bad, like, I was like, oh shit, the bad guy's here. And so that moment when the reveal of him being like, no, he's on our side now, was so fucking cool. And I remember even struggling with that as a kid. Like, wait a minute, I had to ask, like, wait, hold on, what's going on here? And that was so cool, and it still sticks. I know Adam and I are fans of the Fox television series 24.
Oh,
so it was cool to see Xander Berkeley playing John Connor's foster father, even if it's a brief moment. That was kind of just that the old CTU crew up in there. It was kind of fun. And then I remember distinctly coming through film school, one of the directing books I had, they had a whole chapter talking about how James Cameron, when he was storyboarding out the canal chase sequence, it was just him and a couple other guys with a Polaroid camera on bicycles.
I think they did that the whole film.
There you go. See, they know they were specifically talking about that scene, but I think you're right. It is, the whole movie was just Polaroids for the whole storyboard. And to have gone through all of that sequence, and funny enough, Adam and I both, when we went to film school together, we were like a mile away from that mall and this canal. So I'd walked past it many times, and just those shots of the beginning of that chase out of the arcade and out of the mall, I'm like, oh my God, I've been there. Like, it was so cool to see it alive again, and to see these, like, that's right, this is a real place. But man, it's a great setup. One of the things I like about it is I like that it doesn't, as some have said, it doesn't quite bog down with too many refreshing details from the first film, but it's really focused on establishing the world right now. We've already had an impact on the universe. Time has changed already from the first to the second film, so we are really diving in feet first, and he's not afraid. I mean, mind you, this is what, the first 35 minutes of the film, and our father and son characters haven't even hooked up yet. Like, they're not back together yet. They're still separated, and we are still so drawn in, and it is still so just, yeah, like I'm already cheering for him. It's a great start. And then that, again, I was just impressed. Only 30 some odd minutes, and so much has happened. We've got so much backstory. And I wish more modern movies would take the time to cultivate these things while still giving us something tantalizing and to whet our palate right out the gate, like this one does.
And the exposition dumps are cleverly done. They're not just thrown at you. They find
never
a unique
rude.
way to work
it's
it
never
in.
forced on you. Yeah, I totally agree with you, dude. That is, hearing Sarah's voice come in is never intrusive, and it's always it just seems to be the right time every time.
And it doesn't treat like the watchers like idiots either. Like,
yes,
we don't get like a lot of repeated information every
Correct.
5 minutes over and over.
Totally agree.
Definitely.
Nice.
A current trend.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, and it gets so not like, yeah. Anyways, before we get into not getting into other films, but yeah, like I kind of get tired of getting my hand held through every scene. And at least this was from an era where they had a little more faith you were actually there to watch a movie. So
Agreed. Very much so. Yeah, this definitely was an era that, is far gone since, and I would say in the last decade. And definitely, the genre of filmmaking has nowhere been as good as has been in the last 5, I would say. So I mean, it's great to watch these old films because it really felt like they were making this because they loved making films. They loved entertainment. They didn't have some sort of background agenda that they were trying to get across. So
we didn't think we're getting a 6-picture deal right out the gate. We already have to have this arc that goes on forever. It was like, no, this is the movie. All right, you want a sequel? Fine. This one ends too.
This is a story somebody wanted to tell.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, right. Yeah, well said. Well said.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Good job, everyone. Very well. Very good. All right. So yeah. Basically where we left off after the canal chase sequence, after they have gotten away and thought they have killed the Robert Patrick, John basically says, time out. Basically says, where are we going? It's like, we got to get out of town and, stuff like that. So, basically they start making their way, and, John basically has them pull over and says, hey, I need to call my foster parents to warn them. And he's like, Arnold's like, they're probably already dead, so he still ends up calling them, and, says, Janelle, hey, Janelle, it's John. And she's like, oh, John, where are you? Blah, 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 blah. And, basically, is kind of asking these odd questions. And then Arnold gets on there and pretends to be him. He's like, oh, what's Wolfie shouting out? And she's like, oh, Wolfie's fine. Wolfie is fine. And at this point is when Mr. 24 gets killed with the giant knife hand, which was super awesome. I remember watching that the first time, and that was just so freaking cool. I was like, damn. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And it was just so cool. And, and basically Arnold reassures that your foster parents are dead.
I love that line.
And
it's a great line.
Yeah.
It's the only time the two Terminators talk to each other too, which is wild.
Oh
yeah.
Good point.
Yep. And so, after that, basically John and Arnold are talking, and he's like, basically he says, we got to go save my mom. And he's like, she's the next one to be, basically be terminated, because, the Robert Patrick would try to clone her to get to me. And, he's like, basically Arnold's like, no, we can't do that. We got to get you safe and all this kind of stuff. And basically he ends up like, he's like, as he's struggling, he says, let go of me. And he lets go of him. He's like, you got to do whatever I say, don't you? And he's like, yes, that's in my programming. And I'm like, and he's kind of like, oh, so he's like, so prove it. Like, stand on one foot. And he stands on one foot. And he's like, this is so cool. And then, of course, after he was yelling for help for a second, these two like guys come running over like to help. And he's like, take care of these guys. And he starts like going. He's like about to kill them. He's like, no, don't kill them. And this is basically where, John tells him, he's like, you're not a killing machine anymore. You're here to protect me. You don't kill people. If you need to stop them, you got to stop them, but you don't have to kill them, basically, And he's like, why? And he's just got you just don't do that. And so we have that great kind of little sequence with them too, which is really fun. And they start making their way to go find Sarah. And so after that, we that's when we get kind of another we get introduced to Miles Dyson. This is actually that scene where it shows him at Cyberdyne. We see the microprocessor, we see the arm from the first film and stuff like that, at where he's trying to create this, the AI Skynet. And we get that great little scene there. And then we basically go pan over to Sarah at the psych ward again. And, basically she's been restrained after her outburst at the meeting. And before that, she's interrogated briefly by the police because they have pictures of Arnold from 1984, and he has just popped up in the in the mall in current times. And basically said, she's told that her son's missing, his foster parents have been killed, do you care? And she's basically like acting like she's catatonic. And then that's when we go and see her being tied up and stuff like that. We have the orderly who licks her, which I guess if you want to lick a really buff chick, I guess that's the thing or something or what.
She's like, I'm gonna kill you first. That's all she's
pretty much. And basically he ends up, after he locks her up and stuff, it goes away. We all of a sudden find out that she this whole time has had a paperclip in her mouth, and she spits it out and starts to try to unlock her cuffs. And basically we see her kind of undo that and get out of restraints and start to kind of make her kind of escape out of the psych ward. And while that's happening, we go back outside, and Arnold and, John are rolling up, and, John reiterates, no killing anybody, no killing. And he's like, okay. And, Arnold's like, okay. And they make their way up to, he starts to walk up to the guy at the booth, and he shoots him right in the knees. And he's like,
yes.
And John's like,
so great.
What? Like, he's like, and he basically busts his hand through and opens the gate. He's like, and he walks back over to John. He's like, he will live.
And, it's so great. This makes perfect sense. You didn't kill him.
I didn't kill him. He's he's like, he's a machine. He's calculating now. He's making sure to shoot him where he knows that these vital points will kill him. And so they start to make their way in, and we go back to Sarah in the psych ward, and she's making her way. She basically goes into a broom closet or the maintenance room, and basically gets in there. It's hiding out, has broken off a handle of a mop, and so the orderly is making his rounds around, and he's making his way, and he notices the broken thing for a second after he's looking in the maintenance closet, and all of a sudden she comes out of nowhere and bashes him in the face and starts beating him, and basically ends up taking his baton, and after smacking him and pulling him into her room and locking the door, and she starts to make her way. Then that's when we cut down to the floor, and that's when Robert Patrick has popped up, and he's like making his way into the building. We get that hilarious woman that's running the front counter who like sounds like is dying from secondhand smoke. And basically, she starts to talk to him. Then all of a sudden he disappears, and she's like, "Oh," he's like, "Oh," and that's when the other cop guy he's getting a coffee, and that's when we see that great new first CGI, some more CGI, and him slowly pulling up from the floor and then turning into the cop, and he ends up taking his knife finger and stabbing him in the eye, which we got some really great kind of special effect there, the dummy special effect, practical effect, and he kills the cop and takes over, and he starts making his way as the cop now. And then we go back to Sarah making her way, and as she's making her way, she's basically eventually gets to where the doctor is, and one of the other people, and she ends up going in there and like smashes him, breaks one of his arm, and she does her one line there where she's like, the body's got 215 bones in the body, and I just broke one. And if you actually look that up, that actually is wrong. There's actually that number is not right. So
because Deadpool and Wolverine had a similar joke, he had a different number. He
Yep.
said 206.
Love that joke.
207 when he's watching Gossip Girl. Well, how many? What's the answer, Cybernetics? Do you know?
Offhand, I do not remember what the actual number is, but it is more accurate what Deadpool and Wolverine said.
Oh, okay.
So it's less. It is less than what she says. There's not 215 bones in the body. It's actually less. And so she basically ends up taking a syringe and filling it with liquid plumber, and it has it pointed against his neck, and she makes her way with him to get out of there. And she makes her way to one of the locked doors, and the bailiff chick or the security guard there's like, "No way, Connor." It's like, "You better open her. I'm gonna inject this motherfucker," and stuff like that. And she, they end up letting you come through, and she starts making her way, and she ties the security guard down and all that kind of stuff, and starts making her way. And when she starts to go towards her way, all of a sudden, that's when Arnold Schwarzenegger pops up. And she sees him, and she freaks out and starts running the opposite way after she has clearly started to get away, and it's going to make her escape. And she ends up running back into the orderlies, and they all take her down, and he's walking towards her, and he ends up taking out all the orderlies. And I love when the chick takes her cast and hits him in the face, and it breaks his glasses, and his look on his face, he's just like, and he just shoves her face and throws her on the ground. And it was kind of funny because I'm like, oh, so they're gonna have him just push a woman and not beat her up, versus the other guy he's like bashing into the windows and stuff. So I'm like, that was some good thought there, people, some good writing. And as he's taking care of, she's Sarah's still all freaked out, and then John pops up. He's like, Mom, and she looks at him. She's like, he's good. He's here to help us. And Arnold all of a sudden looks down at her. It's like, come with me if you want to live. And so as he basically does that, what the hell was that?
Sorry.
Are you?
It's Jeff scrolling through TikTok, apparently.
Oh my god. He's traveling in time.
Apparently.
It's 1997.
Probably. Anyway, so then as he's about to lift her up, as he lifts her up, all of a sudden they look towards the other direction, and all of a sudden out of nowhere there's Robert Patrick, and he's about to walk. He walks up to the grate, and then all of a sudden walks through the grate, and then we see him, and he has to move the gun to pull it in, and they're like, and then Arnold's like, run, and so they start running. And then Robert Patrick starts shooting at Arnold, and Arnold's running to block it, and he's just getting shot. And we just see the shot, and like even as he's running into the elevator, you can see the gunshot still go right through him and stuff like that. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, he's got a metal endoskeleton. Shouldn't that kind of stop the bullets a little bit? And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, whatever, it is what it is. And so they make their way into the elevator, and they're about to go down, and the metal man gets his metal in there and starts to try to open the door. And as he's opening that, Arnold takes a shotgun and shoots him right in the head, and you get that great special effect there where his head's like blown in half. And then they are able to start making their way down in the elevator. And as they're doing that, after they supposedly have blown up his head, all of a sudden knives things start coming down through the ceiling, and they start shooting at it and shooting at the knives as they're coming down. And basically, Sarah grabs the other gun that Arnold has and starts shooting at it too. She ends up getting stabbed by one of the knives. And as they get down to the lower level, they run out, and the liquid guy makes a little hole in there and oozes down through it. Another great CGI effect. And they start making their way, and he reforms. And basically, they grab a car and start to get away. And he starts running after him, but realizes he can't catch up. And he stops. And we get that great little scene where he's like standing there, and all of a sudden, a little piece of he starts to make. Oh, that's actually sorry. He actually starts running after them, and he's able to grab onto the police chaser because they end up taking a cop's car, and basically he ends up being able to grab onto it a few times as he's running after them, and Arnold ends up shooting his arms so that he ends up falling off, and he still continues to run a little bit, and as they have stopped him for the moment, as they start to keep going on, John sees a piece of his metal alloy on the car, and he ends up taking it off and throwing it on the ground. And as they're passing away, we see Robert Patrick. He's kind of walking up to watching them go away because he realizes he can't catch up. And that piece of metal becomes liquid again and reforms with him. So we'll stop there. And, great sequence once again. Thoughts on that portion of the film? What did you think about the CGI? What did you think about the music during that part? And what did you think about, Sarah seeing, Arnold Schwarzenegger again for the first time? What did you think about bringing back the doctor from the first film, and kind of your overall thoughts of that portion of the film? This time we'll start with you, Jeff.
I don't have a lot. It's this movie is very rapid fire, and it really jumps from scene to scene. And then once it locks in on its three protagonists, it's pretty much a full tilt with them. So I really appreciated and enjoyed the breaking out of Sarah Connor. That whole set of scenes is really, really cool. It's a continuation of her reintroduction to the audience almost, while at the same time introduces, the element of having her with having the oh shit scene with the Terminator. So that's dope. Linda, I hats off to Linda Hamilton. She put a lot of work into this movie. I fuck around, but like she does look good. She just looks a little thin in the movie. But she looks like how her character should look. And I really enjoy seeing the two Terminators match wits for the first time. It's very interesting. Rewatching it for the first time in a really long time. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Imran, same question, sir.
Yo, so many again, more amazing moments. Sarah Connor is so badass. She would have made it out of there without their help. She had I love the little details of her with the injector snapping the key in the lock to slow him down. But then Linda H, should I say the whole name? Leslie Hamilton's twin sister. Does an amazing job when she sees Arnold for the first time, because think about what she's going through. Think about how this dude terrorized her, 8 years ago, and this has all been on her. And he's there, and you can see it all on her face. It's so good, and the CG still holds up, man. Yeah, him walking through the bars it's still always great. The twin, they use twins for the security guards, but him coming out and that part's great. And then what was after that part? There were
The fight in the elevator.
Oh,
and-
yes. Yeah, we get a hint finally of I love this sport in the Olympics, apparently.
It's Olympic time.
America will medal.
This is the Olympics.
Yeah. This is live from Paris. I mean, it is the city of love, you know, it makes no, the you get a hint of the relentlessness of this antagonist. It's so great. Him running is great, and even the physics of it, like he's driving backwards and he's got to do that move where he spins the car around, slows him down just enough for the guy. This is when he catches him and jumps on, and it's just perfectly choreographed, great practical stunts. And yeah, and it's great. Yeah, stop there.
Okay, excellent. All right, Andres, your thoughts, sir.
Again, fantastic sequence. I mean, Cameron's on top of his form here, and I mean, first up, the actress that plays Sarah Connor is spectacular. I mean, like her reaction seeing the Terminator, like it's like the best oh shit ever. I mean, like it's like a nightmare coming true. And by the way, I mean Arnold looks so good in this movie. Like he looks like he was from the 1984 first film. Like,
this is peak Schwarzenegger. It's peak.
Yeah, peak.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
peak, and yeah, but it's just incredible. Like it's just like he's like the same robot from the last one. So yeah, that sequence. One thing I always appreciate James Cameron, he just knows how to intensify the sequence with suspense. Like not only the reaction that Sarah got is the phone call for the foster parents. Like that's so chilling. Just finding out that the foster parents are dead, and like of course we talked briefly the metal man big knife through the douchey husband's mouth is like really hardcore. I was like, whoa. Like, I mean, come on, the guy was a jerk, but he was just like calming the dog down. I was like, waste of milk too. I'm like, come on, Mel, man. Like, be respectful. I mean, the milk is come on. But what's funny? If you had to be a movie guy, like all of us here, that douchey guy is the same guy from the first Candyman movie who betray his wife in that movie, and thank goodness that she kills him towards the end. Spoils for Candyman, the 1992 film.
You son of a bitch!
Yes,
I was just gonna watch that tomorrow.
You can enjoy it, one of the best horror films, and he still plays a douchey guy like this in Terminator 2. Yeah. He just like he's having an affair with one of his students in the film, and it's like, wow, what a husband you are. Anyway, he deserved to die twice, back to back, 1991 and 1992. What else? The CGI. Again, I brought up before, like Cameron just knows how to shoot CGI so well. So like that scene with the cop getting coffee is like so impressive because his the cinematography for this film is spectacular. A lot of blues, very cold blues, which is common with Cameron's films. If you see his other films, like that scene is just perfectly aged well. It's just it's at night. It's not in the sunlight, and so it makes that scene look polished and all that, which is great. And again, another great action scene is the hospital thing. It's like, oh my god, just as Jeff said before, like the pacing is like rapid fire, but like you get so much information so like good. It's like that's another thing that I miss about like the blockbuster films. Is like, look, just give me ABC and that's it, and just give me the action and the character development like top like on top, and that's something we forgot to do in these summer blockbusters. It's like now it's like, okay, joke, then after that action, and then after that expedition, then after that joke, and it's like, come on, like you could do all that in one scene, and Terminator did that. That's the impressive thing. But yeah, so overall, I really enjoyed the sequence. This is where, after this sequence, it's where I think the movie slows down when they get to the desert and all that. That's my least favorite about the film, but we'll get to that.
All right, thank you, sir. Dennis, your thoughts, sir?
Yes. Well, I gotta say, props to the two guys who just planned on pulling up to like a diner / gas station, hearing a child in peril, and they come to his aid. They're just trying to be nice.
Yeah.
Can we take a moment to appreciate that? Here's just two dudes trying to do the right thing and get the shit beat out of them.
Pick the wrong guy to help.
Props off to those two guys just trying to be good humans. But it made for a great and funny scene. No, I think this kind of fuels a lot of what we've been saying about Sarah Connor's character, that it's like we're finally seeing that moment crack off of this is literally everything she's been preparing for. All the curls we saw on the corner post of the bed, like this is, and then there's thinking you're ready, and then there's staring death in the face, and that was performed so well, and it carries through that scene so great. The needle going into the neck, like, we're not threatening. It's like, all I gotta do is like you bump into me wrong, and he's done. That the risk reward in that situation was fantastic. You got to put it all on the table, or you're never going to find your way out of this place. Another actor I thought was kind of fun, Mark Christopher Lawrence. His name may not be that familiar, but he was like in the entire run of Chuck, and then he was in that kind of schlocky zombie movie Cooties, who was as one of the teachers. So it was kind of fun to see him. He's the one that lets them through the next set of doors on the way out, and just amazed how many actors had just tiny little roles in this movie and went on to do big wonderful things. But yeah, there wasn't anything particular about the score that like stuck out to me in this section of the film, so much as it's maintaining the tone, it's keeping the pace. What I was shown in the first segment we discussed continues to hold true through all of these sequences. That, and I love seeing those little the poker coffee cups. I love those as a kid. That was such a fun little, like, I always thought those were kind of.
He's looking at the bottom and he's like, I got,
because they were real. They're all like printed random. People, it got to be a thing where like some offices would ban betting because people would start, like, they would blindly order coffee, and then whoever has the best hand would like win the pot.
Oh my God, they were gambling on those cups.
Yeah, and they knew
that's
the
what it
people
was?
making those cups.
Oh wow,
they knew why. Yeah. That's why he was looking at the bottom to see what the rest of the hand was.
Yeah, he had a full house. He goes, I got a full house.
Wow.
Straight hands.
Oh.
And wow, I thought it was just like a plain carne card or like something from like a McDonald's. It's like, jackpot.
Oh yeah, no. There was something. I remember when I was a kid. I don't remember where I was, but there was one of those vending machines I would get hot chocolate from as a kid, and I just thought it was so cool. It came in the little like poker cups, but now I realize what the intended purpose of those things were, and that's a great little moment to bring our villain rising out of the floor to greet the next victim. But yeah, it's keeping it.
I'm sorry.
No, please,
Dennis. Dennis. You know what's funny about, now you brought that up? It's funny. The floor looks like a calling card too.
Checkerboard, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Like, it's like he's literally under the jackpot and he doesn't realize that.
He's not winning the right game, mind you. This is not a good prize.
Yeah. His death. That was his death. Like, he was in his his death.
Oh, for sure.
Oh.
Yeah, that'd do it for me.
All right. Thank you, Dennis. Drew, your thoughts, sir?
All righty. Well, first I want to just start off and thank James Cameron for all the awesome memes we got from that dog scene with the Terminator talking. Oh my God, that took over the internet for a brief second. The hospital sequence is super fun. It's tense, mixed, it's just tonally it just works so well. We're watching this like Hannibal Lecter-esque escape plan from I was going to say her name, Sarah Connor's perspective. Everything's going so well until the dramatic beat where she turns the corner and sees old Arnie walking towards her, and then like everything changes. Her entire world is flipped upside down. She's all of a sudden fully helpless for a brief period. She forgets everything, and she just runs back to the doctors. And like Dr. Silberman, oh my God, he's having a weird day. He's having a really weird day.
He was standing there watching this whole thing, like he saw this whole thing.
Like he's already been exploiting like her hardcore, which was sort of preluded in the first movie. Doesn't he make a reference towards? I guess it's more towards Michael Biehn.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
I can write a book about him.
Michael Biehn character. Yeah.
She's definitely like his golden goose. Like he was never gonna let her go.
Oh yeah. It's almost poetic that he's like exploiting the story, even though like he references it in the first one.
And then imagine him. He's like, "Oh shit, she was right the whole time."
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, that's the thing. It's like, first off, she makes this miraculous escape, which it's probably never happened before, like to that degree.
Yeah. It's
already crazy planned out on her part. Then he tries to talk his way out of it because he's like, "Hey, Sarah, you're not a killer," or something like that. And she basically just throws out him. I think everybody's like dead already.
You're right.
Like, you really think I'm gonna like? You really think? And I wouldn't. Yeah, I honestly think Sarah probably was ready to go all the way if it came to it at that point. Honestly, which is fine for her character. And in contrast, earlier on, we got that scene with John where he, like it's sort of shitty that he gets those two guys as like asses kicked for no reason. But he's a little kid on a power trip when he finds out he has his own personal killbot. But then when the stakes get raised to death, he all of a sudden freaks out. And it's a good establishment of our hero. Like basically, like he's got a no kill policy, which is it's sort of easy to do with a hero to just like, oh, this is why they're the good guy. They don't like to kill people. But this sort of follows through with like sort of the theme of the Terminator, like sort of becoming a paternal parent, surrogate father to John, and it sort of plays well into that. Where it's sort of the beginning of John teaching him, which is great. The special effects, watching them recently, I mean, there is a little bit of an uncanny valley there, but it's not like overtly obnoxious like some other movies would be. It doesn't bother me. They were awesome for their time, and they still look pretty great, honestly. And then the full-on chase action sequence from the elevator all the way down to the car when they're getting away. It's so awesome how like once Sarah Connor gets on point that the T-800 is on their side, she immediately goes right back into warrior mode. And there's that scene where she grabs like Arnold's gun like right out of his holster and just starts like she becomes very proactive very quickly. And that's what's it's such a great little character moment for her where she's like, I know what to do now. Blah, 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 blah. And then on like when they're trying to escape Robert Patrick.
You almost tripped.
That was close. When they're trying to escape it, there's also that like it's like great teamwork and cadence where they're like passing their guns back to John and he's reloading for him. Yeah, reload. And he's none of them are missing a beat. They all work very well together. Yeah, which like that's just such an amazing sequence. And then the immediate aftermath where she's like, they hug, and that's one of the best scenes in the movie, honestly. When John just wants to see his mother, and it's this emotional thing for him, and she's almost like just checking him for wounds and stuff. Like she's just more focused on the mission instead of being like a parent at that point. So
great. You feel so bad for him because she's like, that was dumb. You were supposed to protect. And he's like, I just wanted to see my mom.
Yeah, she starts yelling at him.
I know. And he starts to realize this. It's so well done, and you feel for him.
Yeah, and it's like a couple, like I said, a great action sequence peppered in with some really great character moments that just it's setting everything up for us for that third act. It's doing it did its homework. James Cameron did his homework. Yeah. And I think that's all I have to say about it.
Excellent, thank you, Adam. Your thoughts, sir?
Oh man, I love how the opening was a little more lighthearted and just kind of fun. But now, once we get to this point, the shit has hit the fan. And it's just so beautiful because Sarah's been told for the past couple of years that she's crazy. This robot takeover is never going to happen. And then every motherfucker who told her you're out of your mind is now like, oh shit. And she's the one person prepared for this. Yeah. Loved it. And that scene with the phone call to the parents, always engraved in my head. I loved it. I don't know if any of you's ever watched the show The League, but there's a character on there named Taco, played by John LaJoie. He does like some comedy music, but he does more serious music. And I never understood why he called himself Wolfie's Just Fine until our conversation right now. I'm like, oh shit, he's nostalgic for this stuff. But and even talking about the CG, yes, there are some uncanny valleys, of course. But a couple of days ago, I went back to watch the OG X-Men movie and even X-Men Origins Wolverine, and his shitty claws look 10 times worse than anything in this movie. Like, it's crazy how
They were
much
bad.
better. Yeah.
There's new stuff that looks worse than this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know how you even do that.
The opening of Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm like, okay, this is super CG. Opening whole entirety of this movie, I'm like, it's CG, but boy, does it look fucking fantastic. But yeah, it's like we're in another phase of this movie. Like, we're in the action, we're in the craziness, and just anybody is disposable. And I love that about this couple of minutes of the movie. And I don't know, it's just a blast, really, I think.
Excellent. Thank you. And shout out to the film Cooties. I love that fucking movie. I love that movie. I love that movie. I think it's a great thought process of a film that only kids become zombies. I think that's a fucking awesome
that's
movie.
that one. I wanted to see it. It's a great idea. Yeah, it's a fantastic concept.
Yeah, so that was a very interesting take on a zombie film. So yeah, I love that movie. Great cast too throughout that. Rainn Wilson, Elijah Wood, all those guys in it were so
Lee
great.
Wineau. Oh,
yeah, so funny. All right, good job, everyone. Excellent, excellent. Yes, the chicken nuggets, Mastermind X Studios. I what chicken nuggets, sir? Oh yeah, the chicken nuggets. Yeah, I got you. Yep. Cooties. Yep. Anyways, yep, the chicken nuggets. Yep. Anyways, great job, guys. Excellent. Everyone gets a million bazillion points. Great job. For those that are new to the show, we have an award called the Shogun Award that we give out to the person we think was the best on the panel for the night. So keep your eyes out for that awesome award at the end of the show. Just to throw it out there. So make sure you're on your best duty, guys. Anyways, so where we left off, they had just escaped the T1000 drink.
It's been a while.
Deliberate. Right at the foot.
Exactly. And we asked, was mentioned, of course, Sarah hugs John and is looking to see if he's injured or anything, and says how stupid he was for coming and all that kind of stuff. And we get kind of that great montage sequence where they're making their way down to Mexico because Sarah knows somebody down there. That's where they can go and hide out from Robert Patrick. And so as they're making way down there, we get that great scene where John is trying to teach Arnold how to do certain catchphrases instead of saying certain commands and stuff like that. This is also there's a extended sequence that's in the extended cut where John teaches him how to smile, and of course that the way Arnold tries to do the thing,
It's so awkward looking.
it's so hilarious and
so
awkward.
weird. It's so weird.
But this is where he learns how to say dickwad and stuff like
problemo.
that. And no problemo. And hasta la vista, baby.
That's the word.
Drake.
That's one of the words.
And so we get kind of that great montage and them kind of bonding. And that's when we kind of get some more voiceover from Sarah talking about how, John finally has a man in his life that won't leave him, that's always there for him, that will die for him and stuff like that. And basically, no
pressure.
No pressure.
I don't feel pressure.
I don't feel pressure. Anyway, and so he basically he ends up making his way. They make their way to Mexico and they meet up with Sarah's friend, who was also like a resistance fighter with her that she had trained with and stuff like that. And they basically hang out there for a little while. She ends up falling asleep and having a dream about the destruction of, what's going to happen in 1997. That basically makes her decide that she's going to go and kill Dyson because she knows who now is the creator of Skynet. And so she ends up making her way to Dyson's and starts shooting the place up. We get that great sequence where we see the kid, his kid playing with the remote control car, and we get that kind of great little sequence showing the Dysons kind of in their world. And she makes her way in and starts shooting the place up, and she ends up, getting to the point where she's about to kill him. And that's when John and Arnold show up and basically end up coaxing her out of killing him, because that's not really the way. She's all upset, she's crying, all this kind of stuff. You can definitely see that she is at her wit's end because of what happened to her in 84 and stuff like that. You kind of get that thought process that being locked up in the loony bin too for so many years. I'm sure that has a part to do with it too as well. And so after she doesn't kill him, they start to explain to him just what happens in the future. Drake.
Oh.
And that that what he's doing is going to lead to that consequence of that battle in the future. Oh, drink again. And so that's basically when we find out. Dyson reveals that basically all they did was reverse what they found in that factory where the previous Terminator had been crushed, and that they reverse engineered it from the CPO and the severed arm and all that kind of stuff. So basically they come up with a plan that if they destroy that stuff, keep him from basically creating what he's creating, will help stop this impending doom to happen. So they start making their way to Cyberdyne's, and so that they can get the chip and the arm, and so that they can destroy him and destroy the lab. While they're there, when they get there, that's when they come across basically this police assault that ends up surrounding the building, and they all start having this giant shootout. This is where we get all kinds of great action from Arnold as the Terminator, kicking butt. We see him taking out stuff and keeping in mind what John told him not to kill anybody, stuff like that. As they're doing that, Dyson and John and Sarah are all doing their thing, getting what they need to. John goes with Dyson to get the arm and the CPU, and they grab them. They start making their way. They got explosives all set up and all that kind of stuff. Between the onslaught from the police, unfortunately, Dyson gets shot fatally, and he basically, as he's dying, decides that he's going to help stop what's trying to happen with this impending doom. And he ends up, we see him, he's like there, and he's like like that and stuff. And basically the police pop up on him and see that he's about to detonate a bomb. They're like, we got to get out of here, basically. And so he's like, I don't think I can hold it any longer. So they end up retreating a little bit, and it goes back to him and shows him, and he's like like that, and all of a sudden it drops the thing, and it does this giant explosion of Cyberdyne, and we see that giant thing happen. And so as their onslaught's going on, we get some great scenes where Arnold is basically tearing through walls, saving Sarah from getting killed and stuff like that, and John, and they are making their way out. We have that great scene where they make their way out the entrance, where they're tear gassing and stuff like that, and he gives them the tear gas mask to wear, and he just walks out and starts kicking their butts, and we get that great kind of just all out war that goes on. And as they make their escape, that's when Robert Patrick pops back up at one point, and he makes his way through the wreckage of Cyberdyne, and ends up flying into a helicopter that's flying above, that's recording the incident that's happened here at Cyberdyne. And he ends up jumping in, does this liquid metal thing in there, and he's like, "Get out!" And the copter guy jumps out up in mid. Who knows how high that was?
Was that Wilhelm scream? You think just like? Ah!
Oh, probably, yeah,
probably. and he ends up taking control of this helicopter and starts making his way towards them. Basically, they end up making their way and to in one of the police vans, and they start having that giant chase down the road. We get that all this shooting and gunning's out and stuff like that. Basically, eventually the van gets tipped over and screwed up, and they can't use it anymore. They end up making their way and grabbing this other guy's little truck thing that goes 5 miles an hour, and they start making their way inside this little truck thing that has one of those little like fake little like sheds on it for some reason, which I have no idea why this person would have this little shed on top of their car at this late at night. I have no idea, but it makes for a good plot. And so they're driving this car, and Sarah's been injured. She's been shot through the leg. Arnold's all fucked up, and they're making their way, and all of a sudden they make it into this metal factory, and they get to the metal factory, and at this point they have destroyed the helicopter and the T-1000. Oh, Drake.
Okay.
Has made his way out, and still making his way to the thing. He ends up taking over a giant truck, makes his way to the metal factory that is, of course, filled with liquid nitrogen. Which, what a quinkydink! He would bring his own demise to the fight.
That truck was there.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
And so they're inside the metal factory, and they're noticing what's going on, and basically they get in there and they put a hole into the liquid nitrogen, and it ends up flowing all over the ground and ends up freezing Robert Patrick, and Arnold ends up shooting him, and he busts into a million pieces. They think they have destroyed him, and so after they think they have destroyed them, they start noticing all the hot melting and stuff around, and Arnold notices we don't have much time. He's gonna reorganize, and so they end up making their way into the actual metal factory to get away, and he starts to reform. Once he's reformed, as the battle goes on, they're fighting and stuff. He ends up fighting with Arnold and stuff like that. He ends up going after Sarah, and after John. John is hiding while Sarah and Arnold are kind of like taking the blunt of the force. At this point, if you have seen the special edition, there's a great scene where the Robert Patrick as the Terminator disguises himself as Sarah, and we get to see, because he starts to malfunction after his nitrogen liquid bath. You see that his feet are the same color as the grates, which is a great scene if you ever get to see that, which is really interesting. But basically at this point, Arnold gets all screwed up. He gets all fucked up at this point. His arm gets ripped off. His leg gets fucked up real bad. He starts to lose half of his face. We start seeing his endoskeleton. Basically, Robert Patrick fucks the shit out of him up. And he basically ends up driving a steel pole through him and supposedly, destroys him. And so after he walks away and starts going after Sarah, Sarah basically tries to, shoot him up and stuff like that, uses those basically like that cannon that she has, and basically, takes several, pot shots at him to stop him, but all of a sudden he just re-heals and he's fine. And so, at that point, Sarah kind of gives up, and John shows up, and Robert Patrick's about to do his thing, and all of a sudden that's when we see in the back of them over the corner, we see Arnold popping up because his other CPU, his other battery popped back up and recharged him, and he ends up backup power, and he ends up pulling that stupid beam out of himself, that crowbar, and he ends up showing up with the giant cannon and ends up basically popping him right in the stomach, and he blows up into two pieces, basically ends up falling into the molten metal, and basically ends up burning up. It's because it's just too hot for him. And we get to see all the different characters that he's been throughout the film. We see him turn back into Vasquez from Aliens. We see him turn back into the cop from the what do you call it, the other cop, and all this kind of stuff. And he basically ends up, melting to death. And they have saved the day. after they have supposedly killed off Robert Patrick's character, they're, basically they think they have finished the work that they needed to, but then, Arnold's basically like, there's one more chip we have to take care of. And basically, that's his own chip, his own exoskeleton, and he's basically got to sacrifice himself. And so that's when we get this really emotional ending to a great film where he ends up sacrificing himself, dripping himself down into the molten metal. We see him, he goes down, John's crying, even Sarah's kind of misty eye, and she understands why he's doing it. And as he's going down, the music starts playing. Oh my God. And just, and he's going down slowly, and he just goes down slowly. And then all of a sudden, until finally it's just kind of the top of his head and his hand going, his hand kind of. And then as his head goes down, his hand still pop up and does a thumbs up.
Fucking glorious. Just
so glorious.
Yes. Oh, God, heartbreaking.
And after he has done that, goes back up to Sarah and John, and we have that great kind of lead out with Sarah talking about how the future is going to be, and the film ends. So,
the future.
Drake.
Oh, that's the word.
Oh shit! Yeah, damn it.
All right, so this final act, going from Mexico to the end of the film. What are you guys' thoughts? What did you like the most? What did you enjoy about it? How did you feel about the ending? Did you get emotional? Did you feel the passion for Arnold? Because we have that great moment where Arnold finally goes, "I understand now why you cry."
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So what are your thoughts on the third part of the film, the conclusion, and just your overall thoughts on that section of the film? This time, let's start with you, Adam.
I'm not gonna lie, I had mixed feelings on this final act. I didn't really care for going to Mexico. I liked seeing kind of the way Sarah did live, but I felt like we were there a little too long, even though we weren't there that long. But once we got to the next scene, going into the family, seeing the family dynamic, and just the action of, oh my God, is this crazy woman gonna kill this father in front of his kids? Loved it. And then him being like, I gotta go and essentially destroy what I've been working on, the thing that my company is based on. I gotta go and destroy, but I understand. I love that. And then the whole final scene of like wanting to blow up the building, the cops everywhere, the Terminator and Terminator action, just spectacular. And I don't know why right now I just realized this ending kind of was stolen from Child's Play 2 when they go back to the doll factory and Chucky is kind of burned alive. I'm like, I forgot that came out first. I was kind of shocked by that. But I mean, yeah, just so goddamn emotional. Like this guy who's been a robot the whole time now feels empathy and like understands sacrifice, and it's just beautiful. I don't know. I loved it.
Excellent. Thank you. Andres, your thoughts, sir.
Yeah. I agree with Adam here. Like the whole Mexico thing, I mean, it's not bad. It's just like so filler. And even the deleted scenes from the extended cut that we've been bringing up, like it's so unnecessary. I mean, yeah, seeing Arnold smile is so funny, but it's like I don't need that. It's just yeah. I'm sorry. Okay, we have better things than just seeing Arnold smile. Come on, like we have better funny, Arnold noises or like get in the chopper. Come on, there's a bomb in there.
It's not a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
Yes.
So that they
Puma. Get to the chopper.
Sorry.
Get to the chopper.
Oh my god. Or my favorite is like, oh my god, this man is alive. Don't shoot.
Yes. How much better would this be if Robert Patrick was replaced with Danny DeVito, and this was the beginning of the Twins and Junior saga.
David
my
DeVito.
God, yes. The shared universe. This is
Are
going to
you
be
John
the conclusion of the.
I want to keep my baby.
I'm Detective John Kimbo.
my
How does Jingle All the Way fit in?
They all
Gosh,
connect.
that's-
Oh
Cinematics
no
there,
no
too.
no.
To a
No,
man.
oh my.
Sorry.
Booster.
Off the
Sorry.
rails.
No.
Damn.
Thank
wants
you. Thank
booster?
you. I
Nobody.
Nobody wants booster.
here's a little magical ball. Oh my God.
Turbo.
Turbo Man is also in the.
Did the karate.
Yeah. Karate chop. or oh my God, my favorite is like, oh my God, oh dear Lord. So I mean again I'm sorry. Yeah, so Arnold.
Now get back to the
great
point.
scene. Well, thank you, Cyber. I was getting to the point. Ugh, you. Anyway, so the Mexico theme, it's okay, but it's important because it develops the John and Terminator father-son scene. So that was the important thing, and I like that. And and of course, obviously Sarah narrates that, like, seeing how the Terminator learns. And that's the thing I like about this final act. You see how the Terminator learns from John, like the activating the car, like without realizing there's a key under top of the compartment. And that was so cool that it was pay off so well in the third act of the battle of Cyberdyne. So that was so cool. And with Sarah, I don't know what you guys think about, but that dream sequence is probably the scariest one. It's so it's
Nightmare
so
fuel.
fucking
It's chilling.
yeah. Oh my God, if it almost like it was real, real life.
I believe
that's how
some side lab sent him a letter saying that's the most realistic nuclear bomb blast that we've ever seen. Like that's what it was.
Yeah.
When she's holding onto the fence and it's just the screams.
Yeah, and then it
That is
feels away.
horrific.
Skeleton.
Horrific. Yes.
Yeah.
No, good
It-
call.
it's
Good call.
yeah, it's so brutal, and it gets to the point of why she would go after Cyberknight,
Yeah.
as a Dyson, it was so
Why
clear.
you would
And,
invade someone's home.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just crazy, and when she gets to him, her face is so mad crazy. It's like, oh my God. It's only John is the reason she stopped it. It's because she's a mother, and that's the reason I actually like Aliens more, because because Ripley acts more like an actual mother, where Sarah, I get Sarah, being paranoid
She
because
does stop before John enters the room, though.
Yeah, she stops
I
herself. She's
Yeah.
She
battling
recognized,
with
and
it.
I'm
Yeah.
like, but you're right. You're right. I think the mentality, as you said, it's wait, I'm a mother. Oh my God, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Right. It's
Exactly.
no, that is such. It's so powerful. No, it's good. You guys have called that out. That's God. It goes by quick if you don't really look at it. But
that's what I appreciate about that. It's no, you have to be in her shoes. She's a mother, and the kid was right there. That's if you see is the kid is right there next to the dad and the mom as well. And of course when we get into the cyber bio thing, it's so spectacular. I mean, the explosions is real. The minigun. I always love those miniguns, and I just love how they use it. It's so funny. And oh my God, and the music. As Saber brought up before, the music by Brian is so spectacular.
Brad.
Brad, thank you. His score is amazing, and it just ends up what we like about the first film, and just takes it into cinematic, epic action film scores ever. It's so spectacular. And yeah, I do agree with everyone. The one thing I wish we kept from the extended cut was the glitching of the Robert Patrick Terminator. That was really cool. I don't know how you I think you could easily done something one scene.
They do it once. You see him glitch once where it goes.
I was gonna say, I feel like that's the scene I see featured most frequently on social media, like on Reddit and shit, of like, as far as the deleted scenes from Terminator 2, that is the one clip that I feel like I've seen the most. And I agree.
Yeah.
I wish that kind of melded into the edit that we did see in the generally distributed stuff.
Yeah, because like in the insane asylum, like the hospital scene that we were in with Sarah escaping, like they foreshadowed that, and so like you kind of wish they paid that off, you know. So that was the frustrating thing when I learned that. I was like, oh, that's such a cool way, but you know. Well, I mean, whatever you can say. I mean, and of course, Adam, you brought up the battle. It's similar to the first film, and that's very impressive. Like, it's different. Like, the first film is in a factory, but it's more like techno, like manufacturing one. Where here we're like a factory,
industrial?
But it's more industrial. Yeah, and it's very impressive that it's the same Andy but different. You know, a much bigger scale.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, and it didn't bother me because because it's just the way camera does it. And
it was fantastic to watch.
Yep.
Yeah. And plus the chase scene with the helicopter is one of the best I've ever seen.
Under a bridge? I mean, come on.
Crazy. And those are real helicopter stuff.
Fuck yeah.
And the fucking Robert Terminator has multiple arms. If you pay attention, he has multiple arms holding two guns or like
yeah, he's a third arm flying.
It's just like awesome. Oh my god, so cool. And that was one of, I don't want to bring up the movies, the other ones, but like Genesis was trying to do like a helicopter fight scene, and that was so awful. We were talking about how bad CGI is now. Like that was like a good example of like, you don't know how, like, it's so bad. And that ending, oh my god, that always kills me. Like, you know, when he say like, now I understand why you cry, is like, you're fucking killing me, Cameron. And he does the thumbs up. It's like, it's just so sad because, you know, finally, you know, Connor had a father because, you know, he kind of knows maybe that Kyle, you know, Michael Bihn's character is like his father, you know, like, which we all knew if you pay attention, you know, but like the Terminator here is his, you know, his father. He's protected him. He has like listened to him, you know, compared to his mom. You know, his mom is protecting him, but she's not doing what the Terminator is doing. It's the nature, like, parenting he needs desperately, you know.
To add on to what you're saying, it's funny you just mentioned Genesis. I feel like, funny enough, that's the next movie that has the most immediate father reference, where John's finally saying, oh yeah, he is, like, I see him as a dad. I like, even after he died, and as you know, I am totally with you on the lukewarm feelings towards that film. But it did have, it satisfied those fandom moments of like John finally saying like, oh yeah. To this day, I still cherish those moments.
Oh, that's interesting.
They informed me as a man to be who I like.
Yeah.
He shaped him becoming the John Connor we expected him to be in the future. Damn.
And that's what I like. No. Dennis, and that's what I somewhat like about Dark Fate, because they also do somewhat a similar thing with the father thing.
Okay, this
is
about Terminator 2, Andres. Not about the other Terminator films.
Don't blame me. Blame Dennis.
That's my fault.
I'm blaming you. I am blaming you, Time Cop.
Bring it on.
I'm blaming you, Time Cop.
There's other Terminators, but Terminator 2?
I don't know what you're talking about. There was only Terminator 2 and a TV show. That's it. I don't know what other sequels we're talking about. Anyway, fantastic sequel. One of the best. Should have stopped at this point. Yes, I sort of agree. But what are you gonna do? You know, it's Hollywood. They just want the cash. That's all I have to say. Best sequel of all time.
100%.
All right.
Thank you, Time Cop. Great job. Drew, your thoughts, sir?
All right. The third act of Terminator 2 is, just like the last two acts, pretty damn good, in my opinion. I do agree that the desert stuff, it does slow the movie down quite a bit, but it is sort of like a sandwich right in between two really great sequences. So I think it's more or less just to not exhaust us. there's some pretty great dialogue just with Sarah, like Sarah's monologue about like how the Terminator will never betray John, never abandon John, not abuse him or get drunk. That all that stuff's pretty great. And it also sets up for Sarah to go after Dyson once she finds out that the T-800 has literally all of the information on him. And once the scene at Dyson's house starts, to me, that's when like my eyes are glued to the TV until the end, because the movie is now just, I'm fully invested. Because this is the scene too that like sort of solidifies that like the T-800 and Sarah are now going full role reversal. She is now becoming a Terminator herself, while the Terminator is learning like humanity or something.
Yeah.
But it is great, like her realization of when she's really about to gun down like a family man, like in his living room in front of his family. But one could argue for the greater good.
It would have been done. It would have been over.
It would have been over,
right?
Assuming that's how time works.
Right.
Who knows?
I mean, it's hard to establish. I wonder if Sarah, like I always wondered, does Sarah ever think to herself, if I actually stop this from happening, does that mean John doesn't be born?
Oh,
because it is a causality loop.
Yeah, would he just disappear?
Would he just
Back to the Future?
You can't pick at that scab too much.
Yeah,
because even within this movie itself,
we
kind of undo the whole fabric of the universe.
Well,
of course.
I feel like it depends on like who like is the father for John. That's the chain reaction, because because I
did we say you could talk, time cop?
I'm just saying, I'm the time extra here.
Andre, you're not the time expert. You just talked.
No, F you, Jeff, and F you, Cyber. Well, fuck you. Fuck you. Anyway, go ahead. Night.
Fanboy.
This is also the movie. It doubles down on the causality loop. Was sort of my point, was because in the first movie, it's established that Connor won't exist without Bean coming back, Michael Bean coming back from the future. In this movie, Skynet won't exist unless the Terminator comes back. So it's like the whole future is totally tied to that first movie on a causality thing. And it is sort of weird to think, where it's like, well, if they do change it, then does literally everybody's life immediately blip out of existence because none of this events, but you're right. With time travel, you start picking at that. It's like the whole thing becomes unraveled. But yeah, the role reversal with Sarah and the Terminator is superb. I always love when he pulls his arm off to reveal, because it's like, because they don't pussyfoot around it. They like immediately John just like show them, and he just rips his arm off and says, "Here you go."
Takes the child out of the room first.
I
love that little like.
That's a great character.
Show him.
And then just right away, just cut, peel. Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and like
good call.
And then after it like sort of does like a dissolve or whatever, and it cuts to like, okay, they just explain, like, and this is nice because we already know what's going on,
right?
So we don't need to see them explain everything to him. We just dissolve, and it just cuts to him going, I feel like I'm gonna be sick, because he was just told he's basically going to bring about the the end of humanity. And I think that would be a lot on anybody, but like this is literally just some family man nerd. And like a computer programmer, he was just doing what he was told, and so he is 100% purely innocent in all of this. And one could argue, well, do we take him out just to change the fate? There's definitely an argument there for both sides.
That would be a pretty dark fate.
It would be. And it's very unfortunate, but he has to, he ends up making the ultimate sacrifice to try and make this futuristic wrong that he wronged, or whatever, But the action sequence in the Cyberdyne building is just super fun. It goes from like the stuff in his house is so serious and sort of macabre, and then in the Cyberdyne building, it all of a sudden becomes more lighthearted and fun. It's like, it's like a heist almost. We're gonna get this arm, we're gonna get this chip. Oh, the cops are here. Okay, here's the minigun, which one of the best minigun sequences out there, right next to Predator, right?
Yes,
yeah, that's the same gun.
I was thinking about which one's my favorite. I think Predator still might be my favorite, but just because that's just freaking awesome. But when Arnold's just walking through the like just ripping people's gas masks off, like so that they just are out of the fight, but he's not killing them.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, that's wonderful. He like throws his like grenade launcher to somebody, says hold this, and then just pulls their mask off.
Yeah,
It's so fucking funny.
Which was the same tactic Sarah uses at the beginning of the movie, escaping,
Oh, she
throwing
throws
the
the
keys in the
keys.
face
Yeah.
of
Oh,
the
yeah,
security
yeah.
guard.
Yeah.
This is clearly a learned trait, a tactic of
That's
you naturally
true.
want to catch something if I throw
Yeah.
it at your face.
He's just like, oh, humans are easily duped. Here, hold this. Yoink. Yeah, and then all the way. Yeah, I mean, it's already been said, but the big boss fight with Robert Patrick in the smelting factory or whatever is so magnificent. You just like it goes from one Terminator T-800 fighting him, then Sarah Connor fighting him, John's doing his thing to try and help, and or he's trying to run away, and then Robert Patrick pretends to be Sarah Connor and tries to dupe him, and Robert Patrick, like this is where his acting chops. It's sort of weird because he's like supposed to be playing this like soulless thing, so it's hard to say if this is like oh, you're doing a great job playing this lifeless, no emotion,
right? Yeah,
thing. I don't know, but it's so perfect. Like when he stabs Sarah Connor, he does like that sort of Michael Myers head tilt, like he's almost intrigued by this like pain, this violence that he's like, he almost is trying to like understand like what this is like,
right?
know?
Like he's still learning from these experiences. Like, oh, this is what it feels like.
Yeah, and he's like twisting it, and he's like, oh, this I'll be able to get more stuff out of her,
right?
It's
God.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, and then the ending itself is just so damn bittersweet. It's such a perfect like chef kiss of an ending, and it's like if they hadn't made any more, everyone would just look back on this as like this great like two little series of films that are just like, man, that ended so perfectly, And it's hard because like I was thinking like, how do you make a sequel if you have to make a sequel to this? How do you do this without fully undermining this? And I really don't know if you can.
They tried with Dark Fate, didn't really work.
It's it's because either way it's like, oh, the no fate, because if you make a sequel, then the whole no fate but what you make theme just gets thrown in the garbage.
Well, but here's the thing. Watching it again, there's still an arm in that machine. Wasn't that part of Terminator 3? Did that ever come up again? It was.
I think so.
I want to say, yeah, that was like there's always an impact of something left behind. That's
arm. It's still
every decision made carries into the next film at some point, I feel.
Yeah.
Right.
Terminator 3 stated that Judgment Day was inevitable. It
was always going to happen. He just had to get there. Didn't mind that story. It's okay. I mean, it's good, but yeah.
It's like they left another arm behind.
Yes, they're always leaving arms,
right?
Just like the Death
Just gonna
Star.
keep doing it.
Why are you always leaving arms behind? You didn't melt it all down, you bastards.
Yeah, like I said, a near perfect ending, and if you ignore like basically all the sequels, it's great.
Closed loop.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent, thank you, Jeff. Your thoughts, sir, on the conclusion of the film?
Well, everybody's already pretty much talked extensively about the conclusion of the film, so all I'll pretty much just add on to it, I guess, will be just that I enjoyed it. It is sort of like a slow dip after that first half. It's sort of a slower film at that point, and sort of the ending doesn't hit as hard as it did that first watch back in the day as a kid, but it's still a solid ending. You got to put yourself back in that time period and think about what was going on back then, compared to now. This movie's so old, but solid film, solid ending, and great cast and great casting and great directing and great show, great panel, great job. The MCU's Bleeding Edge. Let's do it. Okay, USA.
Okay, then. Anyways, Imran, your thoughts?
Look, shout out to, we talked about the CGI, but shout out to Stan Winston too, because there's a lot of great practical effects when he gets shot, and you start seeing his face and the eye. It's so perfect.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
The desert scene, you need a breather, right? Just like you said, there was so much action. You need the breather. It kind of works for that. I have to say, I love Robert Patrick. The little details he's brought, like you never see him blink. You never even see him really breathe. Yeah. And just when they're fighting, no one's saying anything. Usually there's no quips, there's no banter. It's perfect. But Robert Patrick, truly frightening. And the end, so you get, the whole chase scene, the helicopter. You get two chase scenes, two different vehicles, transition to two more vehicles. It's so wild how much he packs. And then you get 2 fake out deaths. And usually the fake out death is cheap. But in this case, it's not. Because the minute after he's frozen, he explodes. You're like, you know what? It's really hot up there. This is a steel mill. Yeah, and when it starts to come back together, you're like, oh, you can't stop this guy. And then him with the steel rod and then coming back, you're like, I got 2 fake out deaths. And normally I find that cheap and manipulative. But in this case, it perfectly works for a tremendous comeback. And just, yeah, a perfect closed loop ending to this story, really. Is they've never been able to make another movie as good as this. I'm looking forward to the Netflix series, possibly Terminator 0. But again, you got another guy trying to stop AI with AI. Oh, I also wanted to mention James Cameron has been warning us about this for 33 years. We have not learned. Like, he knew this, and it's kind of, some of it's kind of happening, right? A little bit. There's some of like the deep fakes you could change. It's wild. Cameron was trying to warn us. We should have listened.
True.
But it just this movie was huge. I remember when it came out, it was everywhere that summer, and it still largely holds up. It's not. So we on our podcast we did we did action movie tournaments by decades. We did an 80s one, a 90s one. Terminator 2 won the 90s one. And, it's Cameron continually invents shit that then people use in movies. And then every time he will make the next most expensive movie and he will invent the next thing. And the fact that he's been able to do that a couple of times is wild.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, Dennis, take us out, sir, with the end of this panel about the third act, sir.
Absolutely. So actually early this year, Adam and I were fortunate enough to make it to WonderCon over in Anaheim, where there was a really cool panel with a bunch of effects artists from several films. One of them being the department lead from this movie we are talking about right now. And to watch the behind the scenes footage while he's talking over what it took to film the apocalypse dream sequence, as they called it, while they were filming it. From filming the practical explosion, the mushroom cloud was all real in camera. Mind you, it wasn't a real explosion, but they engineered this incredible effect sequence of using layered sheets of clear plastic, layering a bunch of different like cotton lighting, backlighting stuff, and creating this like ratcheting geared panel that they would lift to create that mushroom cloud just for that quick shot. Whoa. And then all of the buildings, when you see the real destruction of the cars rolling, the buildings collapsing, that was a full resettable set. So they had multi-story buildings that the front faces were on hinges, so they could just wall patch or puttied together. And they would keep resetting him, knocking him down, resetting him. And the lead himself, he's like ducking behind the table. He's getting hit with all the debris, the worse than anyone else. And he was the first one to jump back up. And that was so awesome to see just what it took to accomplish what went by so fast in the film, but had so much rich detail.
And the fact they even went in each building, each office had cubicles. Each room was filled with different items just because they knew you might be able to see it on film. For
the off chance, this is where they decided to settle the camera, where they filled it with life. And every single frame of that thing, they gave it their all. And again, we keep talking about they just don't make them like that anymore. I mean, no kidding, especially that sequence right there.
It's almost like it's an art form.
Yeah. Hey, if only there was a department dedicated to it. Oh, wait. So I will play devil's advocate on the when the film slows down. Yes, I 100% agree. But I will say, as I've got older, when I was younger, that part of the movie, I would kind of start getting distracted by everything else. Now I really take to heart all of the words that Sarah's speaking, and there's something about it. It is such a strong informative moment of really understanding everything she's been doing up to this point, everything she's done with her son, the lives she's lived. I mean, she was a fucking gun runner, running assault rifles across the border, any direction you needed to go. She was dealing with whoever she needed to, just to make sure she was in the prime position to defend her family and to carry out the task when the time came. Another little fun character thing I thought was cool. Aoife Meckerson, so Dyson's wife.
Yeah.
Any Law and Order fans, she's like the medical tech through almost the entire series. So it was cool. Like I remember just watching it again. It was like, oh yeah, that's right. That is her. Oh yeah. I've only seen her a few hundred times. Yeah. Great performances throughout, solidifying that moment of just what have I become? And again, that juxtaposition of a machine versus a human. She still answers to her soul. Her heart still speaks to her in the final moments. She thinks she has enough, just like seeing the beast walking down the hallway in front of her that she was afraid of it once before. She's now thinks she can step up to the call to do this thing and realizing, well, wait a minute, maybe this isn't the best way to go about it. It was so many strong moments. That final shootout, the grenade launcher out the window, first of all, the minigun, of course, that's always fucking awesome. Anytime you see a minigun in a late 80s, early 90s movie is fantastic. They really ramp it back up after giving you this like moment of calm, catch your breath, give you some more story and background. We're right back into the heat and people are dropping left and right. You get to that final moment. I still remember that again, earlier, I mentioned I was confused at the beginning of the movie that I thought this was a villain. By the end of the movie, I remember as a little kid, I teared up when he went down into that vat of molten steel. It was so profound. And to take an audience member from feeling one strong emotion to like the polar opposite by the end of your film, that is some art right there. And dude, even from Cameron himself, I don't think we're ever going to see anything that good from him, much less many others at this point. At least to show it to us in that way, it would take a lot more time, I feel, or they would break it up into more movies, or the series, it would be the pilot versus the finale. And that was a good ride to me. I actually remember one of you guys mentioning how a certain robot from time past now was had 3 arms that I thought was kind of cool. It turns out Robert Patrick actually, he is naturally left-handed. That's why they gave him the police belt that had the left-handed holster. But in real life, when he's shooting pistols, he prefers his right hand. But they wanted to make it look like this version of the Terminator was ambidextrous. So you would get shots of him firing off of both sides. And they went out of their way to try to show that in different over the coverage of all the fight scenes. So I love that even down to the last minute, it didn't matter which hand he had up front. There was all the same. You're liquid. There is no favoring one side to the next, but those little details like that are just what make this film still fantastic to this day. And along with everything that was mentioned prior to me, but I don't think I could put yet another feather in the cap of this kick-ass sci-fi flick.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. I mean, pretty much my final thoughts on pretty much the whole entire film. Like I've said, this is like my all-time favorite film of all time. This movie absolutely made me fall in love with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I saw this before I saw Predator, before I saw Raw Deal, Total Recall, all of those films, all of his big films through the 80s and stuff like that. And I just remember thinking how amazing, as a teen, how amazing that ending was and how impactful it was. And just like everyone kind of has said, with that they could have ended, not make it anymore with just this film. A lot of people feel like this is where they should have ended. And I could see it. I understand it. But at the same time, I have enjoyed all the other sequels that they put out. I find them still entertaining. Even though they're not the greatest, they're still very entertaining. Each of them have something really fun about them. And the fact that, it took, 12 years to get 3, and then it took another 6 years after that, or 5 years after that, to get Salvation, and then after Salvation, it was 7 years before we got Genesis, and then 4 years until we got Dark Fate. The fact that they brought back Linda Hamilton for Dark Fate, I thought was really clever, and the fact that Cameron was a producer on it definitely made it more of a solid sequel to 2. Like, I feel Dark Fate was definitely more of a sequel than 3 was, and 4 was, and 5 was. So it definitely, Dark Fate has a lot better attributes to it than I feel through the other sequels. But overall, that ending when he falls, sacrifices himself into that vat, and he does the thumbs up, and John Connor's crying, is just so amazing, and one of the best endings of a film I've ever seen. Great film, very, very enjoyable. Can watch it 24/7 if I wanted to. I never get sick of this film, and I find every aspect of this film just enjoyable. I never found the Mexico sequence unenjoyable or too much. I have always found that scene helps, like, a few of us have mentioned, it kind of gives you a cleanse between the action. It gives you that slow down a little bit, and that makes sense, because when you have so much action, you kind of need a slow point to kind of get you revamped for the next action sequence. And
yeah,
that's
you
where
just be numb to it after a while if it just was constant, right?
Yeah. Cameron is really good at doing that. And all of his movies, if you ever notice, he does that very well. Just like what he did with True Lies, how he does it in The Abyss, how he did it in Aliens, how he did it in Titanic, etc. He has a really good eye for where to put a slow point in. And he is really a great action director too. He knows how to make really great action sequences, and that's proven in Terminator 2, because every single one of the action sequences in this was on point, amazing. Like, it was not done, everything about it was done pretty accurately of, like, if a real fight like this happened and so forth. Besides, them fighting a cyborg, definitely something that, it would be more realistic. And I think Cameron has a good eye and detail to that. But all around, it's just a really great film and really enjoyable. Hands down, huge, great hit. Now, that is the end of the review, but let's go around and get everyone's rating on the film. We do a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 being the least, 10 being the best. Starting with you, Imran.
I mean, come on, game-changing visual effects, all-time greatest sequel. Actually, I'm just gonna go straight 10. It's pretty near perfect. I'm just gonna make it perfect, and it just changes the things going. Peak Arnold, peak Schwarzenegger, James Cameron, changing the game. 10. It's 10.
All right, Drew.
It's really close to a 10. Can I give a 9.5, or does that have to be a 9?
No, it can be a 9.5.
I was gonna say a 9.5. It's gonna be really close. I mean, it's no Tremors. Tremors is 10.
Hey, nice.
But, no, it's nearly perfect. I mean, if you really put the magnifying glass on it, I'm sure there's a couple small tweakings, you could maybe look at. But I mean, overall, it's like, unless you're gonna like hit it with like really heavy scrutiny, there's not much to hate about this movie. It is like anybody can sit down and enjoy this. It is so fucking fun.
Yeah,
I'll give it an 8. I'll give it a solid 8.
Okay. Adam?
I'm going to come right in between the last two and give it an 8.5. There's some solid aspects, and then there's some aspects that didn't age so well, and it was a fun film.
Dennis?
I'm going to be that weirdo. I'm going to say 9.25. It's got these, like,
show off.
It's so fucking close to being just like a lot have said. This is something I think can draw most people in. There are a few really fine details when you really want to start splitting hairs that, yes, they start to fray a little bit, and that's where it's just got to show somewhat. But I mean, out of a scale from 0 to 10, anything above an 8, I'm showing up to the theater to see, and this is well beyond that measure. And I still, it's still dear to my heart.
Excellent. Andres? Time Cop, Time Lord?
Sure. Sure. Yeah, this one is tough because comparing this to the first film, like it's tough. I'm riffing out. I'm with Jock and Nerd podcast. This is a 10 out of 10. I mean, it's a sequel. It does everything right. It expands the universe. It's much bigger from the first film. It has a lot of heart, which is great, and it has a great villain. Like, I love Robert Patrick as an actor, and what they did right was making a villain that's the opposite of Arnold. Like, he was so much more like approachable, but that was very scary. Like, he was very approachable to the people, and that's how he like got his job right to like get close to John or like anyone near him. And that was like very scary, where compared to Arnold, he was like just a walking machine. Like, he just will walk past you and like no flinching, like he wasn't even human. And that was the thing that was really cool about Robert. He was the opposite of that. So I really dug that. And James Cameron, I think this is his best film. Again, toss up to this and Aliens, but it's one of the greatest sequels. And I totally see why this tops the 90s. I mean, without this film, we couldn't get Jurassic Park, people. Like, remember, this was the reason that Jurassic Park was made, because what this film did is mix the practical and CGI, and that's what Jurassic Park did, and that was a good thing.
Yes.
So I really appreciate this film for that. So it's very important for cinema in general. So, and I wish more action films and the superhero films in general like follow this as a blueprint to how to handle CGI. So that's my word. That's my opinion on this film.
It's interesting you bring up the Robert Patrick looking like a typical person in this movie, because I think in the original Terminator, before they picked Arnold, they were going to have Lance Hendrickson. The Terminator, and it was going to be the same deal, because I guess the original idea was that the Terminator was supposed to look and act just like a regular person, like you could go in, and then they decided to go with the 300-pound Austrian bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Also, I think they wanted Billy Idol to play.
Oh, really?
Originally, this concept art with Billy Idol as the Silver Surfer Terminator.
Yeah. Did you guys know O.J. Simpson was also considered as the Terminator? That's
I think I heard that.
Yes, he was. O.J. Simpson for the first one. Yes.
Yeah. That was another one I heard. I was like, really?
Imagine that alternate reality.
And then he LARPed it in real life.
Yeah. Oh, he did. Yeah, that's true.
Except he didn't run. There was a Bronco in place of him running.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Excellent. I give the film a giant solid 10 as well. Absolutely love this film. To me, it is perfection because it entertains me. It's got good actors, good dialogue, good action, and good CGI. If the film is entertaining, I give it a solid 10 always, because I just find if a movie's entertaining, it's my type of jam. And I really don't like to nitpick at films, because, each film is going to be very different. It's going to have its own flaws, because don't forget, each person is always different. That's going to be creating a film and entertainment to their aspect and to their mind, and it's not to ours. So if you get to enjoy what somebody else's vision is, I think that's entertaining, and I find that entertaining. So I think that's a really critical point about entertainment and movies, is that, don't forget, it is somebody else's vision, but you can enjoy it in that it is entertaining. Overall, such a great film. So, all right. Well, that's the review. Excellent job, everyone. Tonight's Shogun winner is Clapping Please.
Now or afterwards?
Now? You start now? Okay.
No, that clapping. Winner for the night is Dennis.
Hey, thanks, guys. Cool.
Dennis is the Shogun winner.
Thank you. No, there was a lot of ideas and perspectives to communicate with. I love the discussion and the different views of, especially it's amazing how similar some of our taste is through the line, but then introducing those other just little tidbits were just so savory, so toasty, as we would say on our show. It was a lot of fun. No, thank you very much.
Excellent. You're welcome. All right, Jeff, I will give it over to you to take us out, sir.
Okay, well, we might as well start then right off the bat. I guess this will probably, is this going to be you, Adam, on your plugs?
Yes. Whichever works, really. Yeah. Yep. Perfect.
There we are.
Yep.
Yeah.
We got a daily video reviews normally, snippets from our show. Every other Sunday, we do a live stream. It's just a fun little time. We review movies, talk about movie news. I see more of the newer stuff. Dennis kind of goes and gets the retro stuff. So it's not always big Hollywood movies that I'm reviewing, things you might never have heard of, things that Dennis is reviewing you might not have thought of in years. And it's like, oh, shit, that is a fun movie. Or I've never heard of it, and this is kind of interesting. So it's a fun time. You can find us on all social at movie_toast. And we have a film festival that we run every year called Movie Toast the Festival. If you have a short film under 15 minutes, please head over to filmfreeway.com and search for Movie Toast the Festival. It's a fun time every December, right around the holidays. We love to put on the show. We do it live pretty much over on YouTube, and it's free. So I don't know.
It's our fourth year doing it. We've had many repeat submitters with increasingly entertaining content, and still continue to be impressed by just the broad variety of things that people have and just want to get out there for people to enjoy.
Excellent. That's cool.
Okay. All right. Andre's pop culture guy.
Sure. Well, I want to say thank you guys for coming for this review. It was really awesome to meet Adam, Dennis, and Knight. Thank you for coming. And Imran, it was great to see you again, brother. So Andreas Pop Culture Guy Channel Presents. My channel is pretty much all pop culture things, movies, TV, old and new. Just recently posted my 10th anniversary on Interstellar because Christopher Nolan's birthday was last week. I can't believe today's August. I'm up to 996 subscribers, which is crazy. So I'm almost there. I just found another way to boost, those subscribers. But please help me hit that mark. I'll probably be there by the end of August. This was fun night. I love Terminator, and the sequel was awesome. So thank you guys for joining us.
Okay, Imran.
Yes. How's it going?
Hello.
Hello. You should do it for an audio podcast. Jock and Nerd podcast. I am the nerd. My co-host Anthony is the jock, and we have a puppet named Rug Boy. And we review things we love, which is comic book superhero genre. Actually, Anthony was in San Diego last week and went to Comic-Con. He made it into Hall H on Saturday.
Woo, damn.
So on our latest episode, you could hear about the whole process, how he got in there, what it took. And you know what? I always wanted to go, but it sounded miserable. I was like, bruh.
It can be, especially to get in Hall H.
Yes, you were wearing in like 24 hours, like a day, just sitting there. And then he was able to tell us all the footage. It was a great episode to hear it firsthand. And we reviewed Deadpool Wolverine. But yeah, it's fun. You got to wait in line for a raffle, then you just got to stay there for another like 24 hours until they let you in. It's ridiculous. 6,000 people. There's 120,000 people at San Diego Comic-Con. There's 6,000 people get to see all this stuff. And why? Should be more. Should be easier.
Agreed.
You heard the man. You heard the man. All right. So, Cyberneticshark, sir.
I'm going to do this as Arnold. Okay.
Yes.
All right, guys. So if you enjoy me as the moderator or any time I'm on here on the MCU'S Vignette. You can check out my solo content on Cyberneticshark. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on all the different platforms. But don't try to look for me as the Governor of California. I don't do that anymore. But anyway, you see here my most recent review, Despicable 4. Go check that out if you have not watched it. It's a great movie. And then also, if you haven't checked out my latest trailer reaction of Heretic, an upcoming Hugh Grant film, check it out too as well. But I will be having more stuff up for you soon. You'll see some more reviews, more trailer reactions, all that kind of good stuff. And then, of course, my shorts. I just recently did my mini review of The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 that we did on this last Wednesday. So definitely check that out. And as always, huge shout out to all my new followers, all my old followers, and keep on trucking, keep on giving me those subscribers, and I will keep doing it. Have a good night.
Okay, Drew, Nights of Nostalgia.
Yo.
I'm pulling you up. You can get started.
Oh, okay. So I basically just run a streaming channel on YouTube. Mainly stream 3 or 4 times a night. Random games from new to old, whatever's popular, whatever strikes my fancy. As you can see, did some Donkey Kong Country, Darkest Dungeon, Final Fantasy VI, Village, Zelda, Final Fantasy. Everything is just all over the place. Some Elden Ring. We recently, me and my friend, the Beer Thrillers, did a full watch through of the Acolyte, episode to episode. We had reactions.
Oh,
we also had each thing I uploaded is about like anywhere from like 30 minutes to 2 hours because I just sort of kept in all the discussions before and after we watched the episode. Also did a lot of lengthy ass editing just to avoid copyright because it's basically like a watch along. It was a fun time. I don't upload stuff like that on a regular basis, but we also have a watch through of the Ashoka show from, I don't know, what was that, like 8 months ago?
1 month. Yeah.
So if you ever want to pop in while I'm live and playing games, and I'm always free to talk about movies because that is a passion of mine. I love movies, specifically horror movies. I can talk your ear off for hours and on the end. Sweet.
Do you like my movie End of Days?
Okay. The MCU's Bleeding
I had the
Edge
soundtrack
is
of that.
We're live again on Monday night on the MCU's Bleeding Edge, doing the House of the Dragon finale with Fantasy is Reality, Jermaine. Jeez, my microphone got way lowered. Fuck, man. Come on now. My laptop's being stupid. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you. Thanks to everybody that came on tonight for the show. We appreciate you, Cyber. Good job moderating, sir. I'm just Pop Culture Guy. Good to see you, brother. Well, good to see everybody out there. Thank you for the people in the comment section. We love you. We appreciate you. God bless you. Peace.
Thanks for having me.
Stay tuned.
Hey, yo, Jay, can we get some ratchet one time?
Look, I don't wanna talk. How you try and press the kid and read it, you was soft. All you know is capping, homie, you don't know the law.